or like any kinds of nonsense while it's like loading in and what have you. Because within a minute, there's an advertisement going off. That goes off for at least 3 minutes. That I can do,
Yeah.
posting into Twitter, posting into Blue Sky, and I've actually gotten myself out of a lot of different Discord channels because I went through like a week of not posting in multiple channels of like the whole I'm going live and such. And the thing I noticed is nothing changed with my numbers.
Well, it doesn't hurt to post.
It doesn't hurt to post. I feel like it is the important to let people know you are live and you are doing things. Like that is an absolute necessity. But the thing is that the actual amount of like work or the reward from posting it in like an entirely different streamer's Discord probably isn't worth that much
I mean,
unless
there might be some cases where people go, "Oh, this guy looks pretty interesting. He's been posting in here. Maybe I'll go give him a watch."
no like fair, like there is, like I'm not dismissing the possibility, but what I found is like better means of you know garnering attention. I've noticed is like, for example, like when I'm in Final Fantasy 14, I've just
Jason with
posted
the
at the end of the
29-month Prime
party,
sub.
hey,
Hello.
thanks for going through this dungeon. I hope I did okay as a tank. You'll find me on Twitch and shit. And so I've like gotten way more response from either like sort of directly within the game in that fashion, or through posts that are not 100% reliant on Twitch. So for example, the TikToks, for instance,
Yeah.
like I've like some people, and I remember Unnamed talked about this where they post a TikTok almost every day. They just have so many clips that they throw in. I need
to actually get. I've been noticing a lot more people following, and I need to start getting some clips up.
Yeah, I feel like I need to do at least like once a week or something like that. I need to try and get to that practice because as much as I'd love to do it once a day, I don't have that many clips of me doing that, and I don't have the expertise.
I would love to get someone to. I would love to hire someone in order to help me with some of that stuff.
Yay. Me too. Just hire an editor and just sort of be like, "Hey, you wanna look at like 3 hours of 3 hours of
I
stuff?"
am posting my Blue Sky without realizing it.
I saw that. I'm gonna retweet that anyway. Great Blue Sky. You're ruining your algorithm with Twitter that way. Great Blue Sky link. All right. And then
let's delete that. Forget that ever happened.
Nah, we'll remember it. This
No one will remember it.
We will remember this. Okay.
Okay, why did it do that now?
All right. Oh yeah, I need to get the game running shortly. I can't just be looking at all the different things on the Twitters.
My brain no work well good anymore.
I'm sorry it's that way.
It's all your fault, Grant. It's all your fault.
Mine? What the fuck did I do?
You know what you did.
I'm just here in the Discord. How dare? How dare you? How dare Z's? After all we've been through together. After all the Titan Quest and Baldur's Gate and Final Fantasies. And you just throw it all away.
After all the shenanigans, it's all your fault.
How effing dare you? Alrighty. Ding dong. Yeah, you're posting in all the kinds of different thingy-madiggies. Minimize the Discord. Move you to here. Move you to there. Okay, I can close that. I can close that. This, that. I should.
For some reason, my ad break is ending sooner than yours.
I think the reason for it is because I do a really weird way where I've set up the ad scheduler, but I force the 3-minute ad via StreamerBot.
Yeah.
And like I think it does like a little fuck, because the thing is that I want to have like a different message entirely for the whole, oh, I'm gonna start streaming, or
Yeah.
sorry, I'm gonna start an advertisement at the start, but I probably should just make it, since I've got the ad scheduler and it is just doing the 3-minute advertisement like every other time. I probably should just make that the default instead, because it makes basically the same message, and there is like no, and the only difference is like just a mention of like, oh, it's to help avoid pre-rolls for the first hour for new arrivals, and it's like, well, every advertisement is to help avoid pre-rolls for new people coming in within the hour and what have you. So.
Yeah, that's why I have mine every hour. I don't know why people do them every half hour. It just seems a bit sort of silly.
Less advertisement, perhaps, or like less amount of time like offline, I guess, so to speak, because I think I used to do it like that, where it's like, oh, I have half an hour advertisements, because it was like, oh, it's only a minute and a half rather than 3 minutes. But yeah.
Nah, yeah. Okay, now I've changed them all to the actual Twitter, the actual Twitch.
Hey.
Nobody saw anything. Nobody saw me actually post my blue sky. No, nobody saw that.
Apparently nobody saw that at chat. Apparently no one saw that. All right.
No one saw that. Nobody at all saw that.
Nobody at
Grant.
all. All right, dink. There we go. All right, so now I got your chat in my thingy-majiggies. I'm gonna shrink this thing just a little bit. Is this my game? No, it's not. All right.
Oh yeah, did you see now they've added topics to Telegram groups now?
I did not see that. I have not. My goodness, you're very much on top of technology than I am. I feel like some days.
Yeah, yes and no. Let's just nod, smile, and agree.
Nod, smile, yep, wave, and just smile and wave, boys.
Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave.
But yeah, so topics are added into Telegram.
Icy is cute.
What is the purpose
Yeah.
of that?
Probably to help sort of differentiate things for people who want to find different things in a group, maybe.
Hi, Jason. Sorry, Jason. Hi, I forgot to say hi to you. Thank you for being subscribed for like the last.
How could you forget to say hi to
29
poor
months.
Jason?
No one noticed.
How could you do that to him?
Look, he's your partner. You should have said something. You gotta stand up for people. You gotta stand up for your man.
I forget people exist a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
I mean, take Kiryu for instance. I mean, how many times does he have to get my attention before something happens? Love you, Kiryu. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go suck a
like
lemon.
the user. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Kiryu Kazuma.
Why would I Kiryu Kazuma?
Because you said
Where the hell-
Kiryu. I thought
Where
you
the
said
hell did you
Kiryu.
get that?
Because you said Kiryu. It sounded like Kiryu, not cure. Like it sounded like with a K instead of a C.
I'm well, Ginger. How are you? I'll give you a shout out, Ginger.
I'll
Quickly,
do the
just
same thing on my side actually as well. I'm gonna be real.
Ginger Fox VT. They're an adorable bean. They do a lot of fun
They
stuff.
do a lot of things. Yeah, I'm gonna be real. You and I have like a very similar audience. I feel like
We do.
we could play a game of Boggle. I feel like at the start of our streams, it's just gonna be like, right, all right. I've got Ginger Fox, and you're like, got it. I've got Furry Cures.
Yep. Good for cures.
I got Night Sky.
Yeah, I got Night Sky.
Alrighty then. And I've got Jason.
Yep. I've also got Sven Diweska.
I don't know who Sven Diweska is. I'm sorry to say.
How could you not know my pup? How could you not know?
I don't know. I didn't see him. Oh, I
It's
got
okay,
Zarek's.
Sven. It's okay, Sven. Daddy loves you. Enjoy the video. Okay, what video did you send me here? I swear to God, if it's a Rickroll, you're a dead man.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, it's cat getting brain freeze.
Oh. Oh, did you get the TikTok I sent you of the cat with the just getting fat?
Yes. And I loved it. I loved it.
this is one of the things I think like cyberpunk in 1980s was never going to pick up on, but the fact that like communication with friends would very well just be a like an exchanging of random information like a TikTok. There's none of this like, you know, nuanced discussion like you and I debating about the Skyrim civil war between the Imperials and the Stormcloaks. Instead, it's just a case of here's a sailor who has a fish head and is telling you to drink water.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
Real? Oh, I thought it was cool.
I mean, he gutted open the fish, wore it as a hat, and then
He looked like a fish man. He looked like a fish man.
I'm sorry, but that shit stinks on the inside. Have you ever smelt the inside of a fish?
Yes, I'm not like that American where I've not had experience. Now, granted, I've never worn a fish as a hat, but I have had to go sailing and shit. So
That's all right. Someone, as a practical joke, put a like. I say practical joke, quotation mark. This happened around the year 12 muck-up days.
Yep.
We're not sure if it was one of the year 12s or something like that, but it happened around this time. Someone put a fish, or fish's guts in the... Oh, even thinking about it makes me sick.
Oh, they put it in like the air conditioning?
In the air conditioning.
Yep. No. That's terrible.
And like, we started up the car, and this is a hot summer's day.
Mm-hmm.
This is a hot Aussie summer's day. There are fish guts in the air conditioning.
Terrible.
Oh, we exited out of that car so fucking fast. And it was a Comvy. A good old classic Comvy. We could not get the smell out at all. We tried everything.
Wait, did I send you this TikTok?
Have a little cleansing video? Okay, let me have a look. Aww. Cats when they get scratched making weird noises is adorable.
Sent a friend. Code the Yoshi. There we go.
Actually, did you get the one I sent you about your freedom pigeon?
My freedom what, sorry?
The freedom pigeon. America's freedom pigeon.
You mean... it's called an eagle.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's not... Okay, I got the Dungeon Meshi. I got Karlak something or other.
Oh yeah, Karlak is a WWE superstar.
Yeah. If Furby was released in... What? Where's this freedom thing?
Hang on.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it was just before the fish one.
Yeah. So, funny thing. Everyone knows the sound that the freedom pigeon makes in most media, right? The whole high pitch.
We're doing that American Eagle shit, like. Sorry.
Yeah, you know the bird does not make that noise.
Hang on.
Bald eagles actually don't have a voice box per se.
Oh yeah, it's like a
It's a chirp.
Yeah, it's a chirp. I was gonna call it a wet click, and I'm like, that's not the right word.
Let me see if I can pull it up for you all here on my. So this is it here. So for those of you who are over on my side who can have a look, you know, Hollywood loves to use the wrong sound for the bald eagle.
Where is?
Hang on, let me just.
Why are you so low down in my recommendeds? Like, goddamn.
See, listen to this. America has lied to us, people.
That's...
America has lied. Their freedom pigeon does not make a screech.
Moving on, or speaking of America, I was able to do my taxes yesterday. I got.
Oh, that's right, because you get taxes from both Australia and the U.S., don't you?
That is correct. The United States is one of 2 countries that will tax their citizens abroad.
Yeah, did you get much out of it?
No, I didn't. look, the point I do it so then that way, if there ever comes another stimulus check, I'm not in trouble for trying to get the stimulus check without doing the taxes and what have you. Okay, we went through like the American Revolution. Like there's a phrase, no taxation without representation. Like the whole point of the rioting and all that kind of shit and why tea was being dumped into the harbor is because as Americans didn't want to be taxed with having no representation in parliament and shit for the issues that they were having and such. It'd be like if Australians didn't have a representative for their housing crisis in parliament right now. You guys do have a representative for your housing crisis, right?
Oh, I don't do politics.
Oh. That's alright. Alrighty. So, where were we last time? We went down this dais thing?
Yeah, so we're currently hunting Cazador, but I'm guessing somewhere over there.
Okay.
Because by the looks of it, there is some sort of...
There's a crypt gate right here.
What did you do? What did you touch? Grant, where did you go?
I just opened a door that was right next to us.
Oh, okay.
And there's just
coming.
a giant fucking chasm. And, ooh, a rock.
It's not a boulder.
Oh my
It's a
Can
rock.
you cast Featherfall, please?
Sure. Not sure it's gonna, save you, but yeah, go nuts.
It saved me.
Whee!
Perception failed. Hang on. Just quick saving real fast before you...
Do you think I'm that dumb to run into a trap?
I swear people have clipped us doing this shit.
Something over there.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, not a trap. It's a.
Hell, there's a trap.
Okay, there are traps apparently. Where are the traps? Oh, it's in the actual coffin.
Did I just grave rob?
You grave robbed. Ooh, graves robbing people's graves.
The one time we get fucking grave robbery.
Grant, we have probably robbed a lot of graves.
No, we've discovered shit. There's a difference between archaeology and grave robbery. The Pelor Sun Blade. Attack rolls with his weapon have advantage against the undead. This is a pretty cool looking rapier.
Really? Let me have a look.
Yeah, like... So for me, it's giving me an additional 1d4 of fire, but I think it's actually meant to give 1d4 radiant. So it's a 1d8.
I mean, that'd be kind of good for a cleric, or even, I mean, at the moment, like Astarion, because vampires are technically classed as undead, aren't they?
Alright, well, I've sent it to Astarion. See if it's
although, hang on, what's his...
for his current
Hang on. When it's critical hits with weapon or unarmed attack, deals an additional 7. And his other one is the Crimson Mischief, which is, yeah. Actually, the Rapier might be better for him. So it's 1d4 Radiant. Advantage against undead, so... I mean, let's have a look. Should he be classed as undead, given that he's a vampire? Because I assume that vampires would have been classed as undead.
Well... He's seen as a high... We'll probably run into a vampire, and let's be real, it's probably a good idea to have it. What's more, it came from a rosewood casket. I mean...
Yeah.
I feel like it's useful.
Because the other one that we had was when you land a critical hit, it deals an additional 7 damage. But I feel like the other one... Astarion is not a vampire, he's technically a spawn.
Yeah. So, and what's more is... We've not built him for, like, trying to make it crit as easily as we can.
No. His whole thing is being able to dual wield and deal damage while doing it.
Yeah.
So. Oh, there's some chesties over here. Some crates and everything. Beer. Oh, speak with dead.
Nice. And a hook to Create a potion of vigilance.
Scroll of eye bite, scroll of circle of death. I'll take those. Scroll of cloud kill.
Yep, you take that one as well then.
Oh, heavy chest over here. Scroll of code bites. I would never bite. Maybe nibble slightly.
You'd bite.
Hey! Maybe in very kinky ways.
Oh, okay, so there's like a little jump, so there's a jumpy thing there, but it looks like there's a crypt gate over here.
It looks like there's a platform thing here, too.
Alright. Okay, this requires a 30. So...
Fuck me, so there's gotta be something good behind it.
Alright, so the 19 I should have enough, I feel like. 28. Seriously, Jaheira? Try again.
I thought that would do something if I jumped on it, but no.
No.
Astarian, don't jump on it after I jump on it, you silly willy.
I'll need like an additional bonus after I get through, after Jaheira gives me her guidance, unfortunately.
Whenever I hear Jaheira, the only thing I can think of is Shakira, Shakira.
Shakira.
I did lie to you, but...
Alright, so yeah, because right now my bonus is like 10 to 13. Dexterity is plus 5, and then sleight of hand bonus is plus 4. And
so you need at least... What? Maybe...
I need at least a 19, preferably. That is not a 19. Well, I got the Thieves' Tools to do it before we use my inspiration. Just shy. Don't... Yeah.
You're not doing very well.
No, I'm not. But we've got Thieves' Tools to get through. The thing that is annoying me is now I'm getting, like, average kind of rolls of, like, 12s and 15s. The one-time guidance gives me a 4.
In BG1, Shakira is married to DJ Callahan. Ha 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 ha.
Yay! Natural 20! There we go. F5 that nonsense real quick.
Yeah, good idea.
The Gloomy Ascent.
One second. I'm linking something to Esteban on Telegram because he's Esteban's been looking at the dungeon meshy at the moment, and he likes kobold.
Okay.
So I was sending him a thing. I was sending him a funny thing of the kobold from the manga.
Okay.
Lower City sewers.
Okay, so this would have been like another means of being able to get to like the Temple of Balls.
I think as well, like Minsk is supposed to be around here in the sewers somewhere.
Yeah,
but
we
he
never
is supposed to
found him,
be.
did we?
You know what? Should we look up where to find him? Where to find?
There's the lady that was like going to go to a party, and then we convinced her not to because she was definitely going to get murdered.
Ah, a friendly face at last. Are you going to the party as well?
A party in the sewers?
Bit strange, isn't it?
Still, I'm fairly deep in Act 3.
My date's supposed to meet. You haven't seen him, have you? Pale, skinny, extremely piercing eyes.
The individual descriptions could refer to many things, but taken to...
It's funny. He was ever so keen for me to come. A vampire? But then, why am I still here? He could have had me by the neck any time he liked. You think something's happened? You know what? I might give this party a miss. If you see him, don't tell him I was here.
In the counting halls, apparently we find him. Once you recruit your hero, you'll be given her companion quest, the Higher Harper. You'll have to follow the quest line until you encounter Misk in the counting halls.
Unfortunately, her quest line, I think, is technically bugged.
Speak. Ask it. Then
The counting halls is a heavily guarded
you have found
banking
what
and
you
storage
seek.
facility in the lower city.
The gods can grant power or
Okay, hang on, let's see. Cannot
You want to hop on? See where this takes
continue.
us.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Whoop.
Oh, that's as far as it will go. Okay, and then where does this one?
Jahira's quest line in BG3. Found a solution for the bugged quest. Once Chihira mentions the... What the hell was that?
The hell it was what?
I heard a voice.
Oh, that was probably Ketherick Voss, the Githyanki that wants us to release
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
prince.
Okay, so once Chihira mentions the safe house, the quest should start, but it does not. Go to the safe house. Deathalon's dancing axe, but there's no dialogue to progress anything. At this point, you'll need to enter the grand hall and speak to Nine Fingers.
Okay,
It should.
so where is this axe place?
Deathland's dancing axe. Hang on.
Located in Worms Crossing in Act 3. Okay.
Do you want to head over? Because I feel like at this point we're missing it if we don't do it.
Yeah, alright. We'll head to the south span of Worms Crossing. That should be it.
Yeah. She was told the club was underground.
She'd be in trouble. She'd be...
Yeah, because especially after Blade comes along.
Yep.
Get it? It's an underground club. How do I put my weapon back? For some reason it's drawn, and I don't mean for it to be drawn.
Just carry it. You're fine.
Alright, so we want... I think it's this building over here.
It's just to the north. Danathlon's Dancing Axe.
Danathon's dancing axe. Alright, I'll follow you.
Oh, honey, yes, we should stock up. Let's go to Calm's Gums. She has the most fabulous scent. It's perfect for a shirt.
As if any of us would.
Okay.
Imagine seeing a watch.
You'll need to enter the guild hall to speak with Nine Fingers. There are a few ways to get in, so pick what works.
It's hard to find.
Talk to Nine Fingers with Jahira in the party.
I do not see a man named Nine Fingers.
Maybe... Hang on.
Don't draw any trouble on old Enthal.
Let's see. Glinda...
What do you need?
Citizen. Unless...
Oh, she's talking to the store person.
they were replaced by
Oh, there's an
doppelgangers.
apothecary sign up here.
If this is some kind
Cillian host, alchemy and...
you'll find I'm testy enough by myself. Clear out then. I'm guessing I have some tidying to do before the steel watch squeals by.
Alrighty. Dunk. I'd like to see your wares
I
first.
don't care much for your timing. I like your gold well enough.
How's it going?
Trying to see. Okay, this guy's just got alchemic stuff, so don't really need to worry about that. Hmm. Let's see. 9 fingers. Nine fingers keen. So it's a woman we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
She's got golden armor.
Cool. Also, why is my buttons not working? What in the world?
Ah.
Stream Deck. What is going on? Why is the Stream Deck?
Instead of not, also 9 fingers is not there because you did not read the text properly. Hang on. At this point, you need to enter the guild hall. Okay, enter the guild hall.
Why are you?
You can go to the safe house, but there's no dialogue to progress anything. Okay, so we got to find the safe house first.
Hang on.
But where the fuck is the safe house then?
Why is my buttons not... Okay, hang on a second. I'm just gonna need to do something real quick. I'll be back in 2 minutes. I just won't be able to hear you.
Okay.
Alrighty. So while I'm in the middle of trying to fix my Steam Deck and, like, you know, being able to, you know, turn on off and on the whole oh, it's deciding to crash. That's why. While I'm not in a conversation with Code, he doesn't need to know that we're doing this little thingy-majiggy right here, okay? So don't worry about... So, you know, don't worry about all this kind of shit. Alright, Deafen and Mutin. Why is the Steam Deck deciding to be like, oh, hey, like, we're not gonna do any of that shit. Like, come on. Discord. Come on. Don't tell him what we're doing over on my screen, okay? It's important you do not tell him. Alright, okay, will the buttons work now? No, they will not. Why will they not fucking work? Why? Why, game? Why do you decide... Or, actually, it's not even game, it's just... Check for updates. Just, yeah, you say you're up to date, but are you? Are you? It doesn't look like you are. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. I am going to force close... the Steam Deck. I am going to force close the Discord. Don't say it. Don't say it, Grant. You know what Bone wrote. You don't need to say it out. Do not question. Alright, ding. Quit the Stream Deck. There we go. Where's my Discord? Where is the Discord? Why is the Discord not here? What in the world? Ding. How is Discord not in my... Oh, there it is. Okay, so quit the Discord. So then... Alright, so Discord's quit. So we open Discord. We open the Stream Deck. Where's my stream? Where's my stream deck? Ding. Sorry for leaving you alone with chat. I have been trying. God damn it! It still doesn't want. It still doesn't
What's
want to do
wrong?
the Discord thing because I wanted to like quickly mute or deafen and shit like that. But oh wait, there we go.
Oh yeah, it's been doing that to me too, where it won't let me do that with the Steam Deck.
Okay, now it let me do it. I had to quit out of both the Steam Deck and the Discord, and then I had to load them both back up again. All right, now let's get back to business. Let's get back to business to defeat
A little bit either.
the Hans. Did they send me daughters when I asked for sons?
Okay, so there are several parts of the guild hall. The fastest route is to use a manhole at location X 127 Y minus 30 in the alley north of the Basilisk Gate waypoint.
Uh-huh. Okay, refresh cache. Okay, dunk. Interact. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the Discord Fugy thing to work. Oh, hi there, Queen Kaju! Sorry for all the jank.
The fastest route is into the building the guild hall is in. Kiryu, you're not being very helpful.
Don't worry. Kiryu is probably not being one. Like, there's new development because we've gone to this place with the hey, you're back on my screen now. Excellent. We've now gone to the place. I've talked to a dwarf. Jaheira took into the conversation and was like, oh, my men have been slaughtered. They were replaced by doppelgangers. So we now have that.
Okay, so that actually might help. So maybe we go back to the camp and talk to Jaheira.
Yeah. Would you like a bow and arrow called Blightbringer?
I really don't use bow and arrows.
All right. How about a pair of glove? Oh, your unarmed attacks do 1d4 cold damage and gives you ice. Nah, that's not your thing. Against your maneuvers and weapon, that's more of a Lae'zel thing. I'm trying to think what would be a good thing to give you. How about... No, never mind. Alright, well, I got what I wanted from
Your
this man.
father bless you.
Don't tell us the exact locations, Kiryu. We're explorers. We explore.
We explore. Alright, so...
We get a little lost.
Deal with the gnomes, the pale elf, arms, thingy-madiggy. Hide the completed. Hi, Harper. The Harper's rendezvous turned out to be late. We should see what Jaheira wants to do next.
Alright, we'll talk to Jaheira.
Want to ask you something.
Ask it.
Nope, nothing new. Okay, so we've talked to the... Stop complaining that I'm not specific. I love how we're just like giving mixed signals to Kiaru right now. Alright.
Hi Kiryu, we love you!
I'm indifferent. Alright,
okay, fine. We respect you.
Give me a second, I need to double check some things. Alright, ding. Wait. Ah, that's why. Okay, dunk.
Also, I've noticed there's some treasure chests and all that over here.
Nice.
There's an underground area. We would probably get in trouble if we went down there.
Your father.
Give me a few.
Alright, so I think the next stop should be the guild hall then.
Give me a sec as I send back to camp all my new wares.
All your new wares and theirs and
I got
these.
a pizza.
A pizza?
A pizza?
Please, let me have a slice of your pizza.
We are just like two brain cells, aren't we?
Ah, crap.
All right.
I think my hubby has my I think my hubby has my other backpack.
Okay. Alrighty, so let's see if there's a okay, looks like there's a downstairs. Let's see if there's any doors down here.
Okay, yep. Hubby had my bag of goodies.
Okay, there is a downstairs.
I mean, if you want a downstairs, I can give you a downstairs.
Alright, give me a second. So, it looks like, if we can somehow get to the other side here, we can just do, ooh.
We can just do, ooh,
Okay, I might
yes.
have a plan. There might be a...
Oh! Bloodthirst. Improved critical hit. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack. Main hand only. Creatures hit with this weapon receive vulnerability to piercing damage.
Stop.
Ah.
Inhale through the Now you've just sampled some of Baldur's Gate's finest incense. Everything
I'll
chemical
send it to
from
camp.
Potions to poisons.
Along with that.
Just do make sure you read the label before quaffing.
Wow, I picked up a lot of crap. I got a Mind Flayer's brain.
Why do you have a
Be sure
Mind
to
Flayer's
savor
brain?
each purchase.
Blame.
Brain.
You said blame.
I am funny in the brain, okay? Do not blame.
You mean funny in the blame? Ah ha ha ha.
Do the trick.
Give me a sec while I explore. I'm trying to figure out
Should mind my
where
step.
the F we're going.
You know the Mind Flayer. Yeah, I know that's where we got it from.
Let's see what you're hiding.
Yeah, I need to get a second-hand crossbow for Astarion. That way you can go pew pew.
Do we want to try and find like a magical bonus one, or just a normal?
I mean, if we find a magical bonus one a little later on, I mean.
Always room for more.
Oh, Volo's here at this camp now too.
Oh yeah, well, we helped Volo not get killed by what's a Mahuzi. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
being sincere or not, Jason, when you
Hope you're
say
keeping well, friend.
pet him.
Oh yeah, pet him. Gotta pet him. Oh, there's a shovel here too.
Bone Masky Dog with
You
the
go keep
21-month tier 1 sub.
Oh,
Yoshi is here to
21
save the
months of
day.
Timber
Hello.
Grant.
hi there, Bone Mass Dog. Thank you so much for the 21 months subscribed to me. I greatly appreciate it. That's almost 2 years of subscribe to the Zeebs. You don't have to worry about any kinds of advertising that pop off. And I'm curious to know if there is a favorite emoji you have right now. Also, yes, Queen Kaiju, I think it was most likely Discord, and I've got that fixed now, as I'm able to do this button press.
Played a little Dragon's Dogma a little bit afterwards too, so you'd be more than welcome to join me for that.
Alrighty.
Dushi was all like, I am here to save the day, and jumps into my waiting room, not realizing we're in your stream.
Lol. Alrighty, I think I have found... There we go. Oh, hey. Alright, cool. So we got those. I am now in an entirely different part of his shop that I don't think they were expecting us to be in. There's a weird...
Now here's the question. Should you be in that spot?
This is all for trying to advance the plot.
Hang on, I'm gonna quickly also click exit Discord, because I'm gonna check and see if that's gonna help my issue too.
It might.
Keep a dog!
So yeah. You might it might honestly, so because that's what I did. I closed and reopened my Discord and my Stream Deck software.
Yeah. I'll be right back, Grant's chat.
See you in a bit. Right now I'm just getting rid of some of my extra gear. Look at that chat.
Why did that not? I thought I exited. Hang on. How do you do exit for Discord? The logout or?
No, so you need to go to your notification bar in the bottom right. You may need to go to show hidden icons.
Oh, right, that. Okay, never mind. I got it.
Yeah, it should be, if you're in a Discord call, it should be like a green dot, bright green for when you're speaking.
Got it.
Cool. Yep, and he's gone. There we go. Alright, now I've got, like, way more free weight available. Surveillance notes. Do not... Also, if Joshi is not... Alright, I'm here to give you my sub because this primordial needs sleep. I just have to work in 12 hours. Not to worry. The city harpers appear to operate independently, each separate cell feeding into a ranking member who oversees the larger network. It's an effective method, distributing their efforts and ensuring that each unit is safeguarded against the infiltration of the others.
God damn it.
But once already compromised, the structure is their greatest weakness, with no individual harper being able to tell where the contamination begins and how far it has spread. And so while they scramble to rebuild themselves, we carry on with the Chosen's work. That's
okay. So for some reason that didn't fix it, and now the PNG tuber is broke. Oh no! Now the PNG tuber is back. Okay, we're good. We're good on that.
Cool. Good to hear.
But I still can't get my buttons to work.
Okay, then you most likely need to force close Stream Deck. It will tell you like, oh, if you force close it, we won't be able to, you know.
How do you force close?
So for the Stream Deck itself, let me see. You have to do the same sort of thing as Discord, where you have to go to the hidden items in the bottom right, and it should look like a weird, like, it should be a circle with a whole ton of dots in them, but if you hover over it, it should say Steam Deck.
Steam Deck?
Right click and close.
Do you want, pressing keys won't affect until you launch it again. Don't ask me again.
So yeah, so you'll just need to run, so yeah, once it closes, then you run the software again, and then you give it like a minute, and it should work.
Yep. Give it a sec. I'll re-fire it up. Hello, Esteban. How you doing?
Hello.
And no, we're not gonna eat the doggy, Tushy. We're not eating the doggo.
We are trying to find where the harpers are.
No, still not working for some reason.
Not great. Also, here's some grease. In a hypnotic pattern.
Doing all right, checking what you're up to while I doodle and pass out at my desk. Not much. Oh, Esteban. Actually, Esteban. I might have done a thing in Dragon's Dogma 2 to have your character named for Anon. Now that I've made the pawn again and started the game over, so that way I could have Anon as the actual character name instead of it being Stormy. So now I have Anon as a pawn.
Let's see what this does.
It's like this is a bit of a pain in the bum that it's not allowing me to do stuff.
It is a bit painful that it is being this obtuse.
Excuse me, Code, but my slooty... Oh, yeah. Thank you for the slooty armor as well, Kiryu, even though I haven't worn it yet.
Did you see how far that watcher threw?
Hey, look! Sloozy!
My mate got thrown by a steel watcher. Lucky bugger. The trajectory was perfection.
Uh-huh.
That dude was weird.
Excuse me? We're discussing steel watcher gyromatics. A topic beyond your understanding, I imagine.
He even
I'm gonna shove this...
He sounds sloozy as well.
Just shove this halberd right up your ass. You know that, mate.
Alrighty. Okay, I am now going to do the BG3 Harper Boulder's Gate.
Yeah.
Personal chapter 3. The Hut.
Kill him. Tushy, stop having us do illegal things. Grant already steals enough shit as it is when my back is turned.
Make your way to the audience chamber.
Actually, there was something. That was something that I was meaning to.
Okay, so
Why?
so we need to now go into. After arriving, she explains her plan is to enlist the help of the guild and Nine Fingers Keen. There are several paths to the guild hall. The fastest is to use a manhole in the alley north of Basilisk Gate, smash through the northern wall, follow the path west, and there's a locked door to the guild hall.
Oh!
So, yeah, alright, so...
Oh, so that explains it. So I was just looking at something else Joshi and I were talking about the other day, of why kobolds in Japanese anime are depicted as dog-like characters, whereas kobolds now in Dungeons and Dragons are small lizard dragon type characters, because I mean you've seen Darius's character, you know, and all that, right?
Yeah, I've seen Dazarus, and then the kobolds in Japan are like furry things.
Yeah. So the reason for that, which I've just found out, was because of games like Final Fantasy or fantasy games in Japan delved heavily into the older versions of Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And the older versions of Dungeons and Dragons had kobolds as dog-like heads and things like that.
Okay.
That's why kobolds in Japanese versions are dog-like or bestial-like, whereas kobolds in the newer versions of Dungeons and Dragons are all lizard-like. So does that mean Dazzy is part dog?
I don't know how I like this line of questioning. I don't like this line of questioning.
All right, where are you, by the way? I didn't see what you ran off to. I'm not touching that one. It's too easy. Too easy. Too easy.
This is what I have to deal with, chat. Is I'll say nonchalant things like a manhole, and or you know, give me a moment, I'm talking, and then I'll just have Ko just sort of like piping up and just shouting in all caps, context.
I mean, that was very out of context.
The give me a second, chat. I'm docking right now. Yes.
Yeah, that was very out of context.
Fair enough. But yeah, you know the context for why we are looking for a manhole here.
I know, but it's still too easy. Too easy. Too easy.
Okay, there's a mortuary here. Maybe we can... Oh, you need a key to get into that mortuary. How the fuck are you supposed to find a manhole in here?
Yeah.
Do you see a man? Oh.
So apparently the manhole was supposed to be 127 minus 30. So one.
Oh, hi there, Aito. Hang on a second. Oh, they said north, but really what they mean is south. The idiots. Hi. Hang on a second. Hi there, viewers. Hi there, Aito. Welcome to the stream. My name is Grant. I'm a variety himbo streamer.
You need to remember the mapping around here is not very good.
Currently going. It's D&D night on a Tuesday of all things, rather than a Friday.
30.
And I'm going through Baldur's Gate with Kobayashi.
To the west. Aha! I think I found it.
Metal toys.
Somewhere around here, right?
Got to be paying them out sync fees.
Wait, nope.
Somewhere around here.
All right, I'm catching up.
Found it.
All right, I'm catching up. So yeah, how
and
was
she's just saying your mom.
Joshi.
Shouldn't go wandering in dark.
Oh, but surely we're safe with one of Nine Fingers' big strapping boys to protect us.
She sounds like such a mom.
That's her
then.
sigil on your ring, is it not?
Calling him like a
Eyes to
big
yourself,
strapping boy. It
elf.
sounded like a mom compliment.
Jahira? The same Jahira who burned down Fugal's tea shop? I saw that fire.
How did I get in this
Very
conversation?
I don't know.
Oh,
The
because you
fire
went
was
into
his
the
own
whole. You
fault.
went into this like place.
Bad enough he was adding silk root to his brews, but he stored it poorly too.
Nasty
I don't even know where you ended up. Whereabouts are you?
Somewhere
His
completely
rotten leaves
different.
Once. Made me feel
Okay, okay. I see you. I'm heading over your way.
No. You stay where you are. You're in the right place because
Go
you
on then.
you like
If
were
the
able to start
guildmaster
this
doesn't
thing.
want you in her hall, she'll tell you so herself.
I don't know if I was, because, like, you're way further off than I am.
Oh.
No worries, Esteban.
Oh my goodness!
Before I change my mind.
Alright, hang on. Let me come to you.
Oh, okay, so the way I got here really quickly is because of this heap site strand, and then I took the path that was, like, northeast.
Yeah.
I'ma be real, I don't know if this was the way Kiaru would have wanted me to go. Like,
I mean, if it twerks, it twerks.
The absolute, like, craziness I did of... Oh, another earthquake.
Sorry, I farted.
Of course he has.
Hehehehe.
What did Ato
Also, for
say?
some reason, the PNG stopped working. Fugi stopped working.
Oh, hide the source and reveal it again, so it, like, quote-unquote refreshes.
Yeah, I've done that.
It works... Well, it looks like it's working on your stream. It's working on my stream.
No, it's just not showing up on my stream, though.
I'm looking at your stream right now. I see me.
Yeah, it just doesn't show up. It's like it's not working on my OBS. Anyway, I'm here. Let's go.
All right, cool. But yeah, what did Ato write? Okay, so they were playing a game called Peaks of Yore, and then they said found out mountain was 7.5 kilometers, and I only made it 3.5 kilometers before falling. Ouch.
Ow. Isn't that from the same guy that made the other game?
Smiling Grinna? Oh, okay. I thought she was going to talk to us.
This is supposed to be the greatest fest hall under the city. So where's all the bloody fun?
We want to talk to 9 digits. Oh, Mole's here!
Who?
Mole!
Mole! Oh my god, you're here and alive? Where's your...
Wow, look who it is! Glad to see you in the city. Hope you found plenty of
I
coin
thought they
to
would
catch
still
those
be in
coffers.
problems.
Ready to
Like,
do
all
some
we had
business?
was a fucking, like, eye patch. How did you escape
I
Moonrise?
survived the hells when Elturel fell. Compared to that, slipping out of Moonrise was child's play.
I thought she had... Why are her eyes different?
She's normally with an eye patch. We found the eye patch.
Ideas. I'll be running this whole place in no time.
So that's why it's weird to us. Is normally she has an eye patch, so we didn't see that she had
Ready to
two
do some
eyes.
business?
Is this a guild
Sure
business?
is. We work for Fetcher, handling what you might call pre-owned goods. Talk to Sticky. He'll cut you a deal.
Nice. Well, I am going to go talk to a man named Sticky, and
Ready to do some business?
Hang on.
probably not
She
gonna
does
be...
have some stuff here, so...
Where? Oh,
Nothing really all that good on her end, so...
yeah. We gotta talk to a dude named Fletcher.
Sticky.
There he is.
Fetcher isn't himself, so I'm running the shop. You buying or selling?
Oh, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. Yes. What have you got?
Anything good?
Shade Slayer Cloak. When hiding, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack.
That might be good for Astarion.
Is it now?
Because, hang on, what did you say it does again?
So, while hiding, the number you need to roll a critical hit, so normally 20, is reduced by 1. This effect can stack, so it becomes 19. So, normally we have other effects mentioning where it's like, oh, you know, that does this thing as well, so you can get it down to like 18, and then if we have enough effects, then we can probably get it down to like 17 or 16. So the idea is that if you roll a 19 or higher, that's seen as a crit.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good one for Starion, given that his whole thing is stealth as well.
And it's a cloak, so it's like in a free what's-a-mahoozies thing.
Yeah, and I don't have a cloak for him, so...
Alright, cool. Give me 1 moment as I move all this shit here.
I'll also have a look around, see if I can find...
This hat, Asterion,
Professor, Snapbone, Lady... Phase... Lurik's Goldthroat. Okay, did you pass it over to me?
Yeah, I passed it over to Asterion.
Okay, it's equipped. It's a very red-looking cloak. It needs to be dyed.
It's Asterion's thingy-majiggies, so, like, let him pick it. Yeah, no, I'm doing alright for weight. Cool.
I'm sorry, sweetie pie.
Ooh.
I don't do requests. But toss me a few coppers, and I'll shoot you a saucy wink across the bar.
A bard of my homeland, do you know any songs of up here?
Of course I do. But I find a Boldorian audience prefers Boldorian songs. So if you'd be so kind, step aside to make room for the coins to fall.
Aw, I thought she would like, you know...
Oh, I thought so too. 3-piece, bad twin bobbins. Wait, this guy's not a 3-piece. I don't see any chicken nuggets there.
Bad twin, 3-piece.
9 fingers could be further down, so...
Sorry, sweetie pie. Very kind of you, sir. I'll be dedicated...
Cheating on Karlak, are we?
Just helping our artist community out. What's the Patreon title? Our capitalist system does not... Hang on a second.
Hey, Ruby, how you doing? Okay, I had a perception check fail just around here.
Give me a second.
Oh, a tarnished ring.
So, there is a name that is used by... that pops up in Spice 8 Rack videos.
Yeah.
Which goes on about... Because it's like one of his... it's one of its things where they'll like go through the whole list of what's-a-mahoozy,
Bless me. Sorry, guys. I tried to hold that one in. Doing good, almost at 1,000 points, so I'll be able to... Aww. Hang on, what's this? Hang on, Trishy sent me a thing about the eclipse.
I am saying this only because our global economic system doesn't intrinsically support artistic expression.
Glad I didn't show this on stream.
What did you do? What did you show on your stream?
I didn't. Jushi sent me a thing and I'm like, what is this? What is so funny about this?
And then they just threw you a penis.
So apparently, a news crew was doing something. I'm not sure if this is legit. They were doing something about the eclipse, right? They had like 2 different camera positionings for it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone made an eclipse, all right.
Oh. That's disgusting.
It was fleshy and hairy and oh.
Okay.
Why would you do that on national television?
Because they want to be funny. Alright, so that's... Imagine having a name like Elliot.
Yoshi, why would you send me stuff like that?
So, when I say that I haven't even been told our orders...
It's almost like he's trying to get me in trouble.
Okay, hang on. So
Before you ask, I ain't got none of that plum prosecco. Now, what can I get you, newcomer?
all right.
Aw, but I wanted a prosecco.
What's a prosecco?
It's a good wine.
Oh, I don't like wine. Oh, I went for a massage last week, and I'm still feeling like I
Oh
wanted
yeah, I
to-
remember you mentioning it on your Twitter.
Yeah. So I thought I was gonna go for like a nice calm massage that was going to be like, you know, just doing a nice sensual, like just like a little touch up, little like squeeze here and there, maybe a little push and rub, you know, nothing intense. I went for something called a remedial massage, which
Yeah.
I should have like. And the way they described it was like, oh, we will massage out any knots and like any tense muscles. Turns out that is one of the massages that is allowed to be reimbursed in like private health or bulk billing and shit, because that's actually a medical thing in Madug. It's not just a, oh, here's a fun little massage just to make you feel better. It's a, nope, we are going to squeeze the living shit out of you. I had a Thai woman on all fours on my back at one point, just squeezing my muscles down and just being like, way too often. I was holding my breath and I was just tense.
Okay, I still don't see where Nine Fingers is.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him. A lot of ladies around
Bare
here.
hands.
Hans?
No distractions, mate. Nine Fingers has me watching over Pierre Priss here. Wants her friends in Parliament.
Okay, maybe she's behind this double.
You did not see me. A peer of the Parliament openly walking the Guildhall would sell a few copies of Baldur's Mouth.
So yeah, because there's two
What
locked
about
doors
behind
here.
this door here?
So, like the obvious... Lol. There's like one part of... This is... Okay, I found Nine Fingers' office. There she is.
I found Nine Fingers.
It's an orphanage, Ukta. What would you have me do? Seize their toys as payment?
Well, they failed to pay tribute. We should withdraw our protection, at the very least.
And cede more ground to the Stone Lord? You're not suggesting I yield a single inch of the city, my city, to this cult?
We already look weak. If you're seen to be forgiving debts...
I didn't say forgive. Seize the building. Arm any children old enough. If they protect what's mine, we'll consider that a start on what's owed.
God damn, this woman is great.
Yes, Guildmaster. Excuse me? This is a private council.
I feel like I want to rip his mask on.
It feels like a fantasy trope of there is something evil behind that mask.
You owe me a gold piece, grandmother. When I heard you died out in the wilderness, I made an offering at Kellenvor's well.
Of gold? Oh, I did not know I meant so much to you, Guildmaster.
No, I'm terribly sentimental. Case in point, I've just let a harper walk through my guild hall, noticeably unholed. Because I'm curious about why you're here and who it is you've brought with you.
Let you here to do the talking.
I want to say, hi, I'm Grant. I'm a friend of Jahira's. I just want to be a handshake Andy here. But you're right, let's let the ladies do the talking.
This is the one who saved my life. So really, he owes you your gold piece.
What?
But we can settle debts later. For now we need help.
Why did we convince her
We're
to
searching
speak for us?
Minsk of Rashomon.
A big name, that. Such information does not come cheap, High Harper. Not in normal times. Of course. Seeing as these are not normal times...
Hi, Stan. How you doing?
...friends, I'll do better than tell you where he is. I'm bringing him here as we speak. Or parts of him, at least. I gave no orders about the condition of his corpse.
What treachery is this, Nine Fingers? Have you thrown in with the Absolute too?
Against my own city. Careful. You're in very real danger of hurting my feelings.
Oh, the Harpers are
Minsk,
weird. They're
who's
like
found his faith
little
with
finger
Faerun's
and
newest
all that,
god.
aren't they?
And a new name with it. The Stone Lord.
Lies.
Oh, that was my back.
Guild crews may be prone to exaggeration, but
Just grinding away at Honkai Star Rail.
the Stone Lord and his crew have earned a reputation.
I've seen a lot of artwork of one of the characters from Honkai recently.
And where he
Anu?
mows my people down, this ripe little cult takes root. But not for much longer. We have word on where he plans to hit next. And he'll find us ready to hit back this time.
Nine Fingers. Estelle. Call off your ambush. Tell us where he is, and we'll handle this.
We? I see no Harpers, Jaheira. I'm sorry, but
Wait, is she
this fight's too
actually
big for
like
you alone.
Jaheira's granddaughter?
Sounds like it.
If you're half the friend you're posing as, you'll tell her that her part in this is done. The Stone Lord's fate is sealed. We have a bigger war to fight. I'd rather turn our talk... Well, you've
Never
earned that
mind
much.
Let's go. We know
My
where
guild
Minsk
hall is open to you.
Or at least we're going to be told
Have a
where
drink,
Minsk
Jaheira.
is going to be in the next
Have a
questline thing.
rest. Just leave well enough alone. It would be a shame for the city to lose 2 of its heroes in one day.
Okay, so now what do we do? Looks like there's a big circle here now. Search the guild hall for a lead.
Timberloo. Oh, not important. Head banker.
Here we go, you.
The Stone Lord plans to rob the counting house, and Nine Fingers means to trap him there.
Inroads by arms dealer Gortash. Here follows a report on the inroads upstart smuggler Enver Gortash has been making on illicit arms trades. Though inroads bear the former black market leaders, the Knights of the Shield, and outside this area have largely been supplied by Gortash's operations. Do you want to...
Roll again.
Hang on. Let me... Oh, did you pass it?
Yep, pass it this time.
Okay, I was gonna...
Yeah, I got a nat 1 on the first one.
Oof. It's already here. Oh, hey, a plaque. What does the plaque say?
Someone's vintage Moonshay Zinfandel collection. But it looks like a lot of the bottles have gone missing.
Alright, so what's your... who are you talking to? Elliot over there?
Oktar. Add a bonus. Friendship. Friendship? Again? Oh. Four. Oh, just. Oh. I got a little bit... I had to clench my butthole there for a second.
By telling you where he is, in direct defiance of my guildmaster's orders. I have not come so far by indulging in petty disputes. But I am open to transactions of mutual benefit. I am interested in gaining access to vaults beneath the counting house. I'd pay well for keys to those vaults, provided said vaults are not emptied prematurely, of course. I suspect that what you seek might also be found beneath the counting house. I tell you this only as a matter of mutual interest. What you do with that information is a matter for yourself. Now, back to the vault keys. Do we have business to conduct?
Okay, so I can give him the keys.
We kind of need them in order to get to where we're going, though, don't we?
Yeah, so let's use them. So, find Minsk at the counting house. So it looks like we've got to head back up.
Oh, wow. The guild hall was just across the road from the sewers, apparently. Look at this map.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus, how did we? We are
Because we're
terrible
dumb.
at we are dumb. Dumb as fucking brick. So you just went up back up above ground?
I'm about to head back up. I haven't headed back up just yet.
Alright. I'm just gonna see how the navigation is. Did you remember to grab a Starion?
Yeah, I've got a Starion.
Okay.
So I'm gonna head out the door here. I'll see if I can find where our location is. Let's see. So we want the counting house. Okay, so it looks like it's near. So Lower City Central Hall, Laura's house, Old Gallows Place. So if we go to the Heapside Strand and head from there, just to the west. I think I'm heading in the right location. Hang on. It's very hard to tell with this map.
A heretic in a...
Okay, west. No, so this way.
For the fallen.
Okay, tree over here. Okay, I'm heading in the right direction. Thank goodness I've learned to do orienteering in Scouts.
Thank goodness.
Too bad I suck at it still.
Also, how have we... I swear we've gone through these sewers before. Did we, like, not... Did I roll back a particular save? And we...
I don't know.
Can't... Oh, maybe I did roll back a save?
For the fallen.
Maybe you did. Anyway, I'm at the counting house now.
Alright, give me a move.
No choice but to keep going.
This guy, Beehive Central Goods. Why were you hit with an explosion?
I'm just dealing with some murderous people. Don't worry about it. I'll get this over and done in no time.
Who were you fighting?
Nightblade Dogaletto.
Well, so much for peace. You've made a grave mistake.
See, I can't see shit from where we are. But yeah, Grant is apparently fighting as someone.
We'll be fine. Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
We'll be fine. We're okay. My game is frozen, I think. Okay, something's going on because my game is not loading anything.
Ooh, okay. Okay, they don't have anything important.
I'm gonna have to F8 out or F4 out.
Give me a few. Yep, you just left the game, it said.
Ah, don't you just love when shit doesn't want to load?
Not particularly, no.
I've had a game on, God damn it, Sweaty Fingers. On the Xbox Game Pass, I haven't played in years.
Okay, so you were gonna talk to a dude at the Beehive General Goods named Oliver
No,
Tafoco.
I was talking to him. I just needed to re-invite me back into the game blocks.
Okay, once more with feeling then.
Once more with feeling, sir. Once more. Scratch, 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 scratch.
Also, it's still a blank screen over on when I'm watching your stream.
That's because I'm jumping back in now.
Ah, okay.
Oh my god, man. Rome wasn't built in a day.
There, eat Nazis.
Unless you're Catholic and believe that everything was built by, you know, a deity of some sort.
Can't slow down.
But we're not here to get into that.
No, absolutely not. We're not getting into the Jesus fandom right now. We're getting into the D&D fandom.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the Jesus fandom, especially if they watch things like, you know, Narnia.
Donk. I invite you back in.
Because, I mean, isn't Aslan just pretty much a Jesus allegory?
That has been commented on a lot. You are correct on that part. So...
He dies, he revives, he splits the sea.
Yep, so...
Pretty heavy Jesus allegory line stuff there.
Yeah, I get you. Most recently, they've been using Chronicles of Narnia quotes. So when it comes to things like, oh yeah, like 2010s kids trying to talk to 1990s kids about like internet lore and shit, and it's just like, do not quote the deep magics to me, witch. I was there when it was written. So, I very much am in agreement of that particular feeling. Yeah, I see where you are. Is the counting house just a bank?
Probably.
Also, we're probably going to need to go for a short rest, sorry.
Probably.
Jahira got very hurt. Rags Delara?
Sorry, but I'm a...
Why are you talking to women?
Have you seen what she's doing? Counting gold in front of a beggar. Psyche. Thank you, sir. At least some people in this world know kindness.
Yeah, Starion can disapprove as much as he wants.
You just did not care for Astarion, did you?
No.
Alrighty.
Although, Halson doesn't care if I sleep with Astarion.
I don't know if that's a positive thing.
Halson is, polyamorous.
Holders only from here. Vault pass? This is the wealthiest banking house on the coast. God's ransom sitting under our feet. So if it's a bribe you're angling out, well, this I have to hear.
Do we even have that? Well, actually, yes, you've stolen that much gold.
It's not stolen. It's reappropriated.
Uh-huh.
My pass was stolen, truly. This is all the gold. Oh, god fucking damn it. Can you friendship them?
Hang on. I can't because you're now in the thing, so...
Oh, okay. Look, just... I can do the math. Once more with feeling.
Ow! Fucking ow! Ow! Fucking ah! The abuse!
Ah! Two can play at this game with the Discord sounds I have.
Help me! Great. Could... Aha! I have a Jushi as food.
Have your Taco Bell.
No, I would prefer a.
Cerveza Cristal, Cerveza Cristal. Actually, I do need to get a new water. I need to get a new water. Unfortunately, I finished off this soda stream. I need to get a new one. So
Yeah, I've got my Peppy Max right here, so I'm
you got your
good.
Peppy Max. Oh, cookie for Sky. Here's your cookie, Sky. While I go and get myself a water real quick. Be right back. There's an advertisement going off.
There's an advertisement.
This is the wealthiest banking house on the coast. God's ransom sitting under our feet.
Alright, now I need to put some friendship on her.
I have to here.
Okay, I'll friendship again. There you go. That should help you now. You ready, Grant? Hurry, Grant. Friendship will only last so long.
Getting me a soda stream, and unfortunately, my right thigh's like tendon muscle thing is still sore.
Ooh, owie.
It's
actually, work is actually letting us go to a Mineral Springs bath soon.
Ooh. Hey, we hit the 20.
A better sum than I expected. Your lucky Glitterbeard's busy with other guests below. Right. Descend and know. Upon entering the vaults, you forego the protection of city and church law alike. Which is to say, keep to your own vault and you'll be fine.
Yay!
She's too important to
What's
wait in
wrong
line.
with you now?
More unmastered rules. You can at least
Set already in use. I was so confused.
Yeah, same. Alright, so he's got to be in here somewhere.
Is there really no one here? How irresponsible with this bank. No scrying orbs or any of the such. Hey, an amulet of restoration!
There's some double doors over here. Yay.
Mind your manners down here, sir. Titles don't mean much once you're in the vault.
Oh, is there an actual guard? I did not see them there as I was reappropriating.
They're on the other side, so I'm going down.
Just need to see your vault pass, please.
I'll be with you in a minute.
Oh, 25!
Nice work.
No, I need to roll a 25.
Oh,
Can I get someone to give me some guidance?
give me a second. Where'd you go?
I mean, I've got 4, 4, and 4. So as long as I roll at least, let's see.
Sir, yes, sir.
One moment. There you go. Some guidance.
Okay, apparently that didn't work on me for some reason.
Give it a roll. See what happens. Why are you rolling it for yourself like that? Why did you make the noise when it's you that needs to do this?
Because
roll?
I failed. Alright, one more turn. Okay, we can do this. We can do this, people. We got this.
Alright, you just need to get at least a 13.
20!
There you go.
Still alive. So that's progress.
Someone who wants to take you for a drink.
Be cautious.
What did you do?
There's just a shit ton of traps, okay? Don't worry.
Something over there.
Vault visitor log.
So is Minsk here?
Doesn't look like it. He hasn't signed in on the visitor log.
Well, I remember in the cutscene when we see it online, he's inside a chest.
We'll find him.
Please refrain from entering until a staff member has opened the way for you.
Vault number 3, vault number...
There's a trap.
Did we just get teleported back outside?
Doesn't need us with that.
Please wait here. A staff member will retrieve your items.
I feel like we might be in the wrong spot.
Alright, let's head over here and see what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, a 9-digit thingy-majiggy.
For current door codes, please refer to the head banker's office. Highest security clearance only.
Unsafe to use devices powered by bottled lightning. Oh, wet floor. So, if there's water on the floor, it will, you know, fail to do shit. Cleaning staff note. Where did that... Wait, where did the steam... There it is. Cleaning staff note. No water is to be used on the to clean the floor in front of the main vault. Use prestidigitation if you must clean there. We can't afford any more lightning mishaps with wet pressure plates. There will be no warnings, only dismissals. Alright, so we just need one of us to create water and we should be good to go.
Oh, create water. I think I've got that. Hang on. I think I might have a spell for that in my inventory. Let's see. Arcane.
Just gonna F5 that just in case.
Scroll of Arcane Lock. Expeditious Retreat. Does anyone have a bottle of water they could throw?
I've got grease, but that's probably not the same.
Underwave. Yeah, I don't have anything for create water.
Huh. Do we have something for dispelling magic? Oh, we can.
I did not mean to click that.
We could retreat to. What did you click?
I accidentally stood on one of the thingos without meaning to.
We have no idea what it was leading. All right, cool. One moment, please. I'm gonna return. I'm gonna head to camp. I'm gonna pick up a water barrel and bring it back with me. One moment, please. We are doing the thinking, chat. We are doing.
I've unlocked it. Nope, still locked. Never mind.
I was about to say, how the fuck did you do that?
Lockpick impossible. Although I did find one of the buttons that was right.
dimension door might be usable to unlock it and shit. You said you wanted another hand crossbow for Asterion?
Yeah.
Light, heavy. Hand crossbow +1. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Sent to Asterion.
Wait, now you can do pew pew ×2.
Alrighty. And now I shall... wherever the fucking barrel went. Here it is. Ding, dong. Drop item.
Hang on, throw it there, and I'll have him shoot the barrel. And I'll just need someone with lightning in order to set it off.
I've got a lightning arrow.
Do it. Hurry up before the water dissipates. Very smart.
Nice. Man.
Aren't we clever little cookies?
We are very clever. We would be amazing. Oh.
It's still moving.
Hush your fussing. Nine Fingers had this one made especially. That little mouthful will barely slow it down.
But the stories...
Stories. Tall tales and big names, lad. Don't let them fool you. Elminster the Archmage. Drist the Drow Exile. Heroes have power,
I have no clue who Drist is.
But not half.
Actually, you get to play as him in
coin
Demon Stone.
Oh, okay.
For a segment.
A soft word in the right ear. It's not.
He's also playable in Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2.
Ah, okay. So it's one of those.
See?
One of those name drops.
No.
He's also popular within the.
Moradin's cracked clay.
Nope. I'm guessing this is him.
This is Minsk. This I remember from the trailers.
I remember seeing a tiny bit of it, but not... Okay, now we're past the point of, you know, me aware.
There is no gold in here. If there is one thing Minsk hates more than beasts with bad breath...
That sounded like a himbo moment.
Oh, he is very much a himbo.
It is those who are tricksome with the truth. And turnips. But you are no
Turnips.
turnip. Let that be of comfort in your final moments.
Meet Minsk. He still seems very much himself to me.
Cool. Good to know. That is Minsk. Minsk has been a staple of pretty much every Baldur's Gate game, and yes, he is Himbo Supreme. It definitely felt like that, where, just, like, don't get me wrong, it's badass as fuck, but, you know, right after he claws himself out of the Mimic, he's just like, there's no gold in there. I'm like...
You...
Stone Lord. Huh. Better to call yourself Stonehead.
Eh?
Your false face does not fool my eyes. I will cut until you look like the monster you truly are.
Uh-huh.
Somehow, you are making even less sense than usual. Perhaps I can explain.
Wait, excuse me?
That's bullshit.
Stone Lord sees through your lies, shapeshifter. Count yourself lucky he cannot stay.
She is clearly the shapeshifter. Look at all this bald shit on her.
Nine Fingers set a poor trap, little banker. Let the Absolute's faithful show you how it is done. Now
I think if we have to end up fighting him, knockout only.
gold, and the Absolute has need of it elsewhere.
As you say, Jaheira.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Slarning shape changers! Enough! Let us deal with these cultists, then find out where they are nesting.
Alright, cool. Oh shit. So we've got Reaper Ball, another Reaper Ball.
Right, don't hit the ones in yellow, remember.
Did you see it?
Noted. But unfortunately,
I think there was a trailer that came out showing the Avatar The Last Airbender. Yeah, I saw it. I'm not actually all that interested in it, to be quite frank.
The Netflix
Avatar
show.
The Last Airbender
The Netflix show.
Fortnite collab.
Oh, the Fortnite collab. Oh.
It doesn't even look like it's gonna have Aang. It's gonna be Zuko, Katara, and Toph.
Well, yeah, I mean, Aang is a pacifist. Do you really think he was gonna whip a nay-nay while shooting someone in the back of the head?
And Toph is blind. Do you really think she's gonna be able to shoot a fucking bullet at somebody's head?
Better than Aang.
Oh, and Korra. Yeah, Korra too.
Yeah. I've seen the one where they have like the air gliders and it does the Fortnite thing of like just them like hanging from it, which is like, this is bullshit. It looks dumb as fuck.
Aang is in it. He's in the event pass as an Avatar state skin. See, I don't like that. See, I think they chose the wrong collab for that one.
You are. Put on the maid
Why
outfit.
you do this to me, Sky?
I don't care what gender you are. Put on the maid outfit.
Unfair. I have to wear a maid outfit.
Well, you're not wearing it here in my side of things.
Yeah, no, that's by. I've not yet come up with a thingamajiggy to force the Discord feud to change based off of.
Grant, why would you take my shirt?
Because they took my shirt. They made me wear a maid outfit.
And how is that my problem?
Because we're streaming together is why.
You know what? If I get a new model, I will have to ask for a maid outfit.
Good night, you
Noted. Okay, well that's bullshit.
It seems they've based their appearance off the Avatar comics. That makes sense.
Could you not, please?
These people really hate me. They keep poking me.
Yeah, and I'm having a bit of a hard time seeing them with my invisible eye.
Go suck a lemon.
You go suck a lemon, furry cures. Guns are just throwing rocks with extra steps. Yes, that is true.
I mean, technically Toph can metal bend. I mean, how cool would it be if she could metal bend the bullet?
Would be crazy. Alright, what are you and Astarion gonna do?
I think first things first, I need to get Astarion into a position where you can actually do something.
Have him just jump down to where Death's Hand of Ball is. Excuse me.
I mean, I do that, and then I get another 2.
Nice. Oh, hey, Stunning Gaze is broken off of him.
Yep. And an action surge.
Doing another.
And 2 more pew-pews.
Doesn't look like there's any more pew-pews. Oh, there's the other pew-pew. It was just a critical miss, unfortunately.
Can't do much about that.
Fair enough.
Alright, an aura of murder around me.
Just...
Ow! Night Sky, don't drop an anvil! Oh yeah, there are new bending styles that have been added.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I'm really too interested in them. Right now, I kind of need it.
Oh, the mirror images? Yeah, fair enough.
Move my ass out of the way.
Oh. Oh, and just shoots the entirely wrong person.
Incoming.
He's blurry.
Yep, he is just gonna make it even harder for people to hit him. Coward.
Oh no, he's slow.
Oh no. Also,
Not pinned down
Jaheira
just yet.
desperately needs like a...
Jaheira.
Jaheira.
Plus, more people we have in the final fight, I'm sure is probably going to be better for us too.
Yep. Watch as they hide again, the dicks.
Well, what are you going to do about them?
Need to find a way forward.
I mean, if you've got anyone who can maybe lay a trap down or...
Give me a moment. Let me see if there is such a thing. Oh, it's not that kind of array. Okay. Is Scratch gonna help? No, he is probably not.
No, we don't want to kill our poor little pupper accidentally.
Nope, no one in there. Nope, Hawaiian Pizza got bored and decided to go fishing.
I remember there being like a Thomas the Tank Engine song about gone fishing.
There was a Thomas the Tank Engine song for fishing?
There were a few songs like that around that time.
Aha! Surprise, motherfucker! I love my fucking Sentinel like thing where it's just like, oh, someone came in range, bam. They didn't see that shit coming. They didn't see me defending myself.
Actually, I think something I need to put on at some point for when I have ad breaks is like words on stream.
Uh-huh.
Like, I've seen Cosmic use it quite a fair bit when he has breaks, and it looks like a great way to keep everyone engaged.
It is a great way to keep people engaged and try and force people to stop lurking and what have you. I'm tempted to try and run it on, like, if I was to do, like, say, an art stream again, like the 3D modeling and what have you, I would most certainly do a words on stream thing for, you know, when I'm going to, like, if I properly planned a break to actually go on break, grab a water and what have you, because I'm gonna be real, like, because here's the thing, a SodaStream bottle holds, like, 840 milliliters. That can easily be consumed within an hour.
Okay, so I'm away from the aura of murder. Oh yeah, I can do this too.
I don't think it makes you invisible. I don't think it makes other people visible when you're invisible, but okay.
Oh, I know, but it's useful.
Fair enough. Pretty sure it goes away after an attack or something like that, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Invisibility ends early if the invisible entity attacks, casts another spell, takes an action, or takes damage. So.
Do I have...
Ooh, a croissant shark. Nice.
A croissant?
Croissant?
What would you call a croissant shark? A croissant?
It's just a croissant shark. It's just like any other shark.
Yeah, but you gotta have a word meld for it, though, you know?
Nah, not really. You don't need that.
I should have also dark vision.
Dark vision is
Charm person. Color spray. Disintegration, disintegration. Dimension door. Expeditious retreat. Do I have? I think I have a potion of sea invisibility, don't I?
Yeah, but it's only up to a certain distance as well. Isn't it?
Yeah, but it's still going to be more useful than trying to guess where they are at this point.
That is also true.
Potion of flying. I do not have one. I need to make one.
You would think with mind reading we'd be allowed to like hear assassins' thoughts and shit and be like, oh, I can sense murderous thoughts that way.
Be fucking useful if we could.
It very well would be. Well, Rakith is nearly dead, and so is the Invoker. Let's see what happens. What is Rakith going to do? What is his plan?
Yeah, what? When in doubt, cast a spell at a certain area and hope they get something.
Oh, hey, you got something. I just heard and then I'm guessing you just like did a long scream then, didn't you? It was just like
I kind of laughed. All right, you know what, buttfucker? All right, I can do a minor illusion too. Let's do a level 3 scorching ray on you.
That kills him.
You dead, bitch! You dead!
Nice.
When in doubt, burning hands.
Exactly. Is he alive? Yep, he's alive.
I don't think so.
No, I meant like the dude, but okay.
Is this a fox I'm going to eat?
Yeah, excuse me.
You were delicious, Ruby.
Just let me hit him. Let me hit him.
No. I doubt he moves from that spot. So if you put a spell that's going to consume that area,
you are correct.
Hey, iFroggo, how you doing? Let me get you a clip shout out, iFroggo, because you've been here quite a fair bit. There we go.
Looks like we just got...
Golf with friends. We haven't played that. It's a party game we should do at some point.
Ooh, actually, you're right. Maybe that is something to do, especially when because like it will go off in March. I should make a note of golf with friends. I need to double check its price and things, because if there's
it's actually pretty cheap.
Because if there's a discount and such for it, then.
Let me have a look. Let me go into the store while everyone's doing their thing. Don't worry, I am keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, no, not to worry.
Golf with friends, so it's about $21 at the moment.
Ah, okay.
Well, you've already got it. A lot of my friends already have it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was just gonna be cheaper. Was all.
You'd think so. It would be nice if it was.
It would be nice if it was.
Really? You have an ability to do that and you didn't use it sooner, you daft numpty?
To be fair, they used it and it was fucking useless. Alright, now it's your turn.
Target's too far. Can I? Not path interrupted. Path interrupted. Can't really jump. He doesn't have any Misty Step either. That should have been an ability to get for him. Magic Missile. Is Magic Missile going to help? No. Target too far for Magic Missile. Done.
Do not hit Glitterbeard.
Do I look like I'm that dumb? Don't answer that question.
I wasn't gonna. One less aura of murder to worry about.
Well, I hope you have a good sleep, Froggo. I'm one of those people that sometimes need something like a fan on or something like that to sleep.
Yeah. I've been trying to avoid, like, using aircon, like, a lot of the days.
I've been trying to avoid using fans.
Mm-hmm.
So you sort of cut off a little bit there, so...
Oh, using aircon. So...
Yeah. Actually, I found, like, if you don't want to use an aircon, work bought these, like, big giant floor fans. Like, I say big giant, but, you know, those big floor fan looking things, you see? $50 from Bunnings, right? Stick it on to, like, setting 1, and it's almost like a setting 3 or 4 from other fans.
Gosh darn it. Seriously?
Over! Oh, that's fucking hilarious!
Are you kidding me? I threw that at your feet!
I love it! Fucking love it.
Well, the good news is we now know where he is. God damn it. How dumb must you be to fall over and be like, I fell down and I can't get up again, and you waste your 6 seconds?
You can tell Nine Fingers this was not my fault. She swore that mimic could swallow a bloody owlbear. Wait. You're no guild sworn. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Grant.
The person that saved your life. A little gratitude wouldn't go amiss.
Gratitude of the gold variety, I suppose you mean. Good luck with that. The Stone Lord just cleared our vaults. And now he has enough gold to make himself a lord in truth. You think anyone told me? Nine Fingers sent word the Stone Lord was going to try his luck on our vaults. So she told me to cooperate, lure him in. Yes, sir, Stone Lord, sir. Shall we open the account in your name or the Absolute's? Just step this way to your special deposit box. Don't mind the teeth. No one mentioned he might have some old crone dropping in as backup. As chairman of the Fellowship of Financiers, I can assure you we'd reward you well for the return of the coin he took. Not for us, you understand. For the common Baldurian. Who knows what he's planning to do with it?
Smelting it down into a really big phallic penis?
Try all of it. Every penny of civilian lodgings, anyway. I mean, not like we'd lead him into the private vaults, but still. A lot of Baldurians waking up poor tomorrow. What he can do with that kind of coin doesn't bear thinking about.
All right.
Good for you. I happen to care a very great deal. Retrieve the coin, and I'll make sure you are well rewarded. There's treasures greater than gold Feel free to pay.
Look, I don't need your backside. I've already got a bear for that.
Lord sent. Me, I've got ledgers to amend.
Okay.
All right. So.
I grow tired of these false faces. Every corner we turn, and I am sorry, but I am just tired. It is some defect of the mind, I think, to stubbornly insist you are following the light, even as you blunder through the darkness. Or perhaps the defect is mine. When I left Minsk to this fate, I believed I had no choice. I made the right decision, but I do not like how easily I made it. That is his problem entire. The past century left Minsk unchanged. You saw the fool, hanging on the doppelganger's every word for no other reason than it wears my face.
You don't have to explain yourself, Jaheira. You're worried for your friend.
No.
It's not a crime.
But snotting into my sleeve while there is still work to do is. Come then. We need a lead, and bullying this banker ought to make me feel better.
Hey! I love her, the way she says things.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so what is the thingy? Investigate the heist.
Another step forward.
What did you do?
Oh, there's just... Oh, look, there's a ball guy over there. That's all.
Into battle.
He was just like the only one that was like still alive.
Where are you? Oh.
Yeah, don't ask. It's weird. Alrighty, there we go.
Best be on my way.
I was wondering what you fucked up on for a second there.
Did you investigate the vaults already?
There is a vault in back of the vault if you want to open that vault.
What did she say? Last loads of barrels didn't arrive. No word from Caro.
Also, Glitterbeard's there if you want to...
Noted, noted, noted.
We might need to do another short rest. Oh no, we'll need a long rest. We're out of short rests.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just open up this thing. An elegant studded leather that gives you a free level 1 shield, gain a +2 bonus to initiative rolls, and an advantage on stealth checks. It's a light armor with an AC 14.
I mean, stealth checks. Astarion.
Advantages on stealth checks. So, alright. See if that's better than what he's currently wearing, and should be good.
Let's have a look. Bonus initiative to advantage on stealth checks.
So
and
I
a
guess
shield.
like when you have to do rolls for stealth and what have you.
Yeah. It does suit his look. Because I only had the, while obscured, the wearer has advantage on saving throws and a +1 to stealth.
Yeah, okay.
So this works just as well. And looks just as good. I mean, look at the man now.
Nice. He looks like a vampire hunter with the dual crossbows.
He does. He do be looking vampire hunter, doesn't he?
Yeah, looks great. Alright, I'm gonna get out of this vault. Let's see where it...
We'll probably have to go to the sewers, I think, for the...
Alright, so do we want to just, like, go straight to... What's-a-Mahuzi? Straight to camp to rest?
We might have to, I think.
Alrighty then, I'll head to camp. I'll clean up my inventory just real
Hey,
quick.
Deacons, how you doing?
Alrighty. Donk, donk.
Thank you for the shout out for Deacons, Jason.
Wait.
I don't want to wait.
No. I'm just sorting my items.
Are you
in
think I'm
terms of
fat?
weight. No, I'm just throwing things into my chest.
Oh, I've already got a shovel, so I'll give one shovel to somebody else. My type. Alright. So I found a tarnished ring.
Not too sure how that will help us, I'm gonna be real with you.
I don't either, but I found it in a way that made it seem like it was something that needed to be found.
Okay. Cookie for Bookie! Here's your cookie, Bookie.
There's a Bookie cookie?
It's a cookie for Bookie. Cookie for Jason. Here's Jason's cookie.
Where's my cookie?
You didn't ask for one.
But I always want a cookie.
Alrighty, I am now another cookie for Jason. Jason now has 2 cookies.
Damn you, Jason, stealing all the cookies. For some reason, I have a hookah.
Oh my god, Karlak has such low AC because her armor is based off of the Constitution Dexterity thing, but her Dexterity is so weak. She would not benefit from Bull Rush. She needs heavy armor. She needs stronger stuff.
I've got a increase of strength to 27 until long rest. I'll send that to Karlak because that might be one she can utilize at some point.
Also, why does she have all the trap disarming tools? There we go. She's currently holding onto I'm gonna grab a shovel. Gale is
fire
holding
resistance. You gain resistance to fire damage and no longer burn. Thank you, Dathan. This elixir can be thrown at a target to apply the effect. I'll keep that on me. Your movement speed can't be reduced by difficult terrain. Okay, so that's until long rest. You gain a bonus to initiative. That's until long rest. That can be useful. Cost your weapon. Cut your weapon to receive to attack roll. I'll give that to Astarion. Targets failing a charisma saving throw will be branded for 2 hours. Or banned for 2 hours. Or baned for 2 hours. And give that to Astarion for something that he can utilize. Disadvantages, Astarion. Potion of flying, I'll keep that. I don't really need something to triple my jump distance when I've got enhanced jumping. Potion of speed, always useful. Potion. Don't really need toxins, but I'll give them to Astarion. Cures. Gain an additional level 3 spell slot. Replaces other elixirs when drunk. Yes. Oh, I've got a soul coin here that you can use for Karlak.
Yep. Wearing heavy armor impedes all positive effects of your rage. If you drop to when you regain while being down.
There we go. That cleans. Oh, I got a poisoned apple. You want to eat a poisoned apple?
No, thank you.
Why? You might get true love's first kiss.
Doesn't sound like. Nope.
He doesn't want true love's first kiss, chat.
I just don't think Karlak is going to appreciate such shit. Also, how is she? Oh yeah, level 12 is our limit. I'm gonna talk to her for a quick minute, see what she has to say.
Hey, soldier.
Damn it, there's nothing new to say to her. God damn it. Alright, are we gonna go to sleep and just get some rest?
Yeah, might as well. 1 second, though.
There's nothing...
1 second.
You've been out in the city for 10 hours with your bestie from school? Nice!
Ooh, that sounds like a good time.
Good! What are you trying to do? Oh, you're just...
I was dyeing my hat.
Okay.
What? I wanted to dye my hat.
You don't need to do such things.
But hat!
It doesn't matter.
Hat!
I don't care. I'm still wearing the Twitch.
I need to switch over because I also forgot that I have something that I haven't turned off yet. So just in case.
There's nothing going on. It's daytime now.
Hang on. Oh, why is Scratch... Oh, he's got something in his mouth.
Oh.
I just need to turn something off. Video... Gameplay...
You have him showing
Dog
penises,
is unable
don't
to
you?
speak through the small bag he holds in his mouth.
I may or may not have forgotten that I had nudity on still from the last time.
Maybe you can tell me. All I know is I thought of you when I saw it.
Video... Hang on, I might need to quickly go to the main menu to turn it off. So I'll come back in. I'm kind of lucky we haven't had any awkward situations.
You just need to go to accessibility.
I was in accessibility, was it? I couldn't see it.
Yeah, it's in accessibility under the heading explicit content.
I might have made mistakes. Good thing you can't actually get banned for this one on Twitch because of that.
Uh-huh.
They might give you a little bit of a timeout, but you know. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Bloop, bloop, and... Okay, I'll share private moments. Okay, back.
You smell very delicious.
So can I get you to invite me back?
One moment, I'm petting the owl bear.
Kinda glad I hadn't made my character naked all of a sudden for reasons I'm not gonna say out loud.
Good for you.
I know, that would have been dumb. It's also a good thing I don't have add-ons for this game yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what? It's not like Larian Studios cares about add-ons.
Oh, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. Alright, invite. There we go. Alrighty, so... Either completed. Return. Search the sewers for stolen good. We found a trail of muddy footprints in the vault. They reek of the sewer. That must be where the cultists fled with the stolen thingy-madiggies. Cool.
Just gonna check something. Yep, cool.
Alright, so let's head to the city sewers then.
There we go. Also, how do you like my hat? I have a very good-looking hat.
Cool. You got it. It's a hat.
It's a hat.
It is a lovely hat that I cannot see as I am... Oh, there you are. Both of you are wearing hats.
We are matching hat buddies.
The fuck is this with the both of you wearing hats?
Every corner. I am sorry, but
Oh, we already had this dialogue.
Saw the fool. Hanging on the doppelganger. No, come then.
Alrighty, so they want us going up to Undercity Ruins. Let's just head there right away. It was like towards Undercity Ruins. Voiceless Pentient.
Penitent looks at you silently. Expect there's the slightest flicker of acknowledgement in his eyes.
Okay. I actually think you're in the wrong spot.
There's a passageway here.
You're in the wrong spot. Really wish this map was easier to fucking read.
Dead human, death halfling, dead human. Where the fuck is this?
That was where we found Annabelle earlier, remember?
Dead savant, crawling hand. With all these chests. And a reaching pike staff and a treasures and... I don't think so. It's called an ancient lair. It was at the passageway. There's gilded chests and what have you up the wazoo.
I think the house objects to uninvited guests. I share the sentiment, truth be told.
Ew. You are... Unless you are undead, each time you cast a spell you retrieve... Ugh.
May the gods take you first.
God damn you.
You sully the ground.
I think I found where we're supposed to go.
I will be with you shortly. I just need to do a thing.
Never a dull moment.
I might be in trouble.
I might be in trouble too.
Cool, so we're both in trouble.
This would be a great time for an AoE spell. Unfortunately, me and Jahir are cursed with spell rot.
Well, what rotten luck! Oh no, he went invisible. Wherever could he be? Oh. Crows. I guess you could call this a murder.
Yeah.
I mean, these crows seem to have murderous intent. You bastard! You're going straight for me bloody eyes! Well, that's just mean. Are you in the middle of a fight as well?
Yep.
Hmm.
Survival is all that matters.
I did not pick the right path to block. Oh shit, you got a lot of those to deal with. Okay. This is
Just a few.
Hi, little Incineroar.
Healing cup. They sit down for a rest and not rise again.
Yeah, my monk doesn't have a lot of AoE spells.
Shahir is dead, by the way.
Oh. Well, I got Scrolls of Resurrection, so... The new issue I have is... let's see. Yeah, I might need to. This might.
Did we make a fucky wucky?
I made a fucky wucky. If we can just there is an autosave from after we woke up, so we might use that if that's okay.
Yeah, let's use that.
So the place I went had a lot of treasures.
But
there was a lot of undead. So
not the way you're supposed to go.
But there's treasure.
Yes, but I found the ball guys going my way, which means that's the right direction.
But treasure.
But ball guys.
Treasure.
But balls guys.
But there's treasure.
But Nad's ties.
Treasure.
But flybys.
But there's treasure.
Here I am trying to come up with rhymes. It's just not working.
I am not bothering with rhymes. I am just going with treasure.
What about crimes? You know what? If there's undead, let's take the shot with us.
Yep, might as well. We're in the sewers, and we're probably going to deal with them more than anything else. So you just need to talk to.
I'll take shot.
Be honest. What do you think of the new look?
You love it.
I'm glad. Though, I don't think I'm quite done with the past yet. Not until I've been to Baldur's Gate. Yes. My parents are alive, and I have to save them.
Oh yeah, that's the other quest we need to do too.
We have so many things we need to be doing in Act 3, and we're just like having a hard time.
I know. We'd better press on but before that, there's one thing I need to see to. You'll see for yourself soon enough. Just leave it with me. A bit crowded, don't you think? You'll need to swap out someone if you lead the way then.
Alright, cool.
Lead the way then.
Alrighty then. So, we take the city. So we head to the Undercity ruins first. And then, hi there, Sash. Can't stay. Going to watch Dan and Bull tonight, but wanted to say thank you again for the controller suggestion. It arrived today and feels very comfy. Ooh, nice.
Oh, What was the suggestion?
Rather than going with like third-party Power A kind of nonsense controllers, I recommended into their throne own the Purple Viper official Xbox controller. It looks lovely.
Isn't that the one from Razer?
No, this is a Microsoft one. Also, did you head west for the passageway?
Hang on, 1 second.
Oh, you're doing upgrade thingamajiggies, I see.
Just giving her some extra wisdom.
Wisdom. Just remember that her like weird firebolt does not use wisdom; it uses intelligence. So.
Yeah, but we're not using her weird firebolt. We're using all of her other spells.
That's good. Cool.
Wait, why does she not have a shield?
What?
Oh, she does.
Yeah, she's just not equipped it right now.
All right, so where do we need to travel to? It was to
so if you click...
Undercity Ruins.
Yep.
And whereabouts are you?
So you want to go north, and there's a passageway.
Behind what?
It just keep going west. Just keep going west. It'll pop up.
You said north first.
Sorry, north. Sorry, west. That way.
By the way, you don't have Jahira on with you.
That's what. No, I just thingy-majiggied her because I know what's gonna go down. So plus I need her to heal me when I like pick up any of the things here because it's cursed.
Dead human.
Yep. So.
Wait, I have removed curse scrolls.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, so stay there for a bit, because there's all these undead people here. There's a blue breaching pike thing.
Oh, great. Spell rot.
Yep. Now then.
Unless you're undead, each time you cast a spell, you get necrotic damage.
Yep.
Cursed.
Oh, everyone get it?
Yes.
Did you get it when you were in the fight with when you and Asterion were in the fight?
No.
Okay. So we're gonna do this again. However, I'm gonna pick up the thing, then you're gonna go into the passageway, and then we do all the fun fighting. Sound good?
Yep, I've just removed the curse from me. Does Shot have a spell to...
Yeah, but the problem is that it hits you for damage when you do it, so... Hence, that's why I want to, like...
Alright, F5 it again.
Yeah, we'll roll it back. This is save scummy, I will be real with you, but this is, like... applicable. This is like useful save scummy. It's not like, oh, let me re-roll this without doing perception check. This is a save scummy of, oh, to make it just that much easier for us on doing this next encounter.
Yeah.
So. But yeah. There better be some good stuff there besides the pike. Otherwise, this is going to be a very weird sort of, Also, they're talking about a house. I don't know what house they're talking about.
Wait, who's talking about a house?
When I go in here, they're like, the house was upset by this. And I'm like, what house? Alrighty, so.
Swift as my feet.
Now, let me grab the shot.
Yep, you grab Shadowheart, you do the 1 level.
Wags his tail, a small bag he gives in and surrenders his fine.
Come here, Shot.
Lolls out. Camp life seems to suit me.
Can I go talk to Shot before you talk to 5 different people at one go?
I just wanted to pet the dog and the owl bear.
Be honest. Well...
Alright, so... Ding. You can just press M in the camp as well, just to go directly to, like, Undercity Ruins as well. Saves time.
I don't like saving time. I like being difficult.
Do you now?
Yep.
Well, I can't talk much. I'm being difficult right now.
Yep, yes you are.
But it's for treasure.
Consistently difficult for no reason.
It's not for no reason. It's for treasure. I said this already.
Now, remember to save scum it before you save scum it?
Yep. So I'm just standing here at the passageway. I'm keeping Jaheira detached, so then that way she doesn't get the thingy-majiggy as well. So.
Jaheira.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so once you teleported...
Yep, I've teleported.
Then you just want to stand... Yep, just stand over there for a quick minute.
Let me know when you're rotting.
Alrighty. So I go through the passageway on my own. I go. So you stay out there. Now, if I pick up this breaching pike staff.
Feel that.
All right. Did you get the spell rot?
No, we did not.
Alrighty. Now we get everyone else in here.
Now we got spell rot.
What?
As soon as we enter in here, we got spell rot.
None shall see.
Okay. I'm gonna cure. Cure is not. What the?
You need to use a. You need to remove the curse.
It's remove. Oh, it's remove curse, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, hang on. Contagion. Confusion. You said you had a scroll?
Yes, and I can use it on me or Shot or...
Give me the scroll. I will use it on Shadowheart. So then that way we at least have access to her undead things and she's not getting
I can use it on Shadowheart.
Okay, you use it on Shadowheart then. There we go. So that way she's available. So my character, I'm not going to do any magic nonsense. Let's see.
By the way, she can remove curses on people.
That's good, that's good. Can she do it on multiple people is the question.
One person at a time.
Oh, there's a shadow right.
Spell rot comes back.
God damn it.
So we need to deal with this area first and then...
Yeah, alrighty. Alrighty.
So screw it.
Another day, another fight.
Big AoEs are going to be what you need.
Yep, and I'm hoping that with everyone chasing after... you got into the fight, didn't you?
We had to. There was the only way to get you in to get in to help you.
But, yeah.
Plus, Shot has turn undead anyway.
Yeah, but if we wait a turn, they will all congregate on me. They would all congregate on me.
Well, stiff titties.
Best not to draw attention.
Ooh. Heard him and helped her.
Mm-hmm.
Another fight. Let's go.
Alright, are they all going to me? Hopefully so.
Looks like they're all going to you.
Let's see. Hopefully so. So yeah, because like if they're all put together and such like that, then the turn undead will... Never mind, they picked up on you as well. Not great.
Well, they can't really get to here with the hole in the way, so...
Mm-hmm.
As long as we can take care of a lot of them in one go.
Yep. This area is trying to get you to compost with how much rot this is going on. There is a lot of rot, but... Oop. Alrighty. Nice.
Nature's servant awaits.
Alright, I'm gonna see if I can... She's stealth.
No enemies near me, so no point in using that. BRB going to have a shower? No worries, Jason. No one needs people to be stanky. Height growth. Smart.
Yep. Since there was like already, since like majority of the things that were dashing in were there, I was like, right, might as well. So now it's just, and hopefully some of them will be dumb. Unfortunately not.
Hmm. Jahira. Don't have her cast a spell, because she gets hurt with necrotic damage. She could break her concentration.
Yep.
Shoot, I left my glasses cleaner in the car. I got to smooge.
Alrighty, and then Jahira. Why is it Shadowheart, not Jahira? Sorry.
Yeah, so it's Shart's turn.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Oh yeah, I forgot I could do that.
Fading fast. I need healing.
She is not going to heal herself faster than. So
Blood
I'll
comes easy.
Yeah.
Throwing potions and using them will probably be best. All right, hang on. Let me split this.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, I sent. What's this?
4. Can I get you? Can I get you? No.
I accidentally sent all my really big potions to Shadowheart.
That's all right.
So you'll need to go. Thankfully, we can like swap things between inventories and what have you.
That kind of hurt.
All right, cool. That's a greater zombie down. So yeah, the ancient servants are problematic because they're like 80 and such, but yeah.
Split. Sending that to Herkins.
And then you've got 2 bonuses. So you've got 2 bonus thingamajiggies available. And then it's all these different servants.
Really?
Did she on it was what was the percentage?
I have no idea. I was trying to throw a potion at her.
And it missed.
That's better.
Missed 27. Cool. Nice. Alright, that one worked. Alrighty.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice. Alright. Alright, where are they going? Yep, cool.
Oh no, I'm frightened! Frightened!
Might as well make that a crit, just to... Cool. 15. Oh, yes! Radiant damage is gonna do some amazing shit.
You might want to use her to attack, maybe.
Ah, I see. You've got 2 zombies and such. Ooh, manta ray. Nice. I might adjust the settings of this fishing game.
Why is that?
I might, if it's possible, I might make it so that it doesn't have me... Yeah, stop sending catch results. Because it's using my account to do it. It doesn't let me use a bot account. And it just, like, fluffs up the chat and, like, loses out on all kinds of such. So... Yeah. Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, there we go. Oh, looks like I get to hit someone back. Nice.
Hit him back in the dussy.
Ow. And they died to the spike growth. And he died to the spike growth.
Death's close at hand.
Do not hellish rebuke.
Yeah, temptation was there.
Can you move him?
Nope. He's a very standstill sentinel. He can't move.
Ah, and you don't have an option to move him?
No.
Blood follows me everywhere.
Go.
Wait, cantrip didn't count?
What? Oh, per spell level. It's a... Yeah, so cantrip's a 0. It's not a level 1.
Does anybody else feel fucking stupid?
I feel cheated by that.
I could have been casting fucking cantrips this entire time!
And it seems like very powerful cantrips as well. It looked like you hit him for 50 or something then.
I mean, my firebolt is 3 to 30.
Oh my god. So yeah, it was like 20 then. Alright.
Where's the other one?
Right there.
I can't do shit from here.
Thankfully, shield blow is like a freebie. Does that thing seriously not have a...
Nope, it just stands there.
Alright. Good news. There is no more...
Always nice to be wanted.
Still breathing, despite everything. Never wanted the easy path.
Let's just clear this place out before we do anything else stupid.
I shall ascend with him. An ancient stone, cold and damp to the touch. The letters carved on its surface appear to be drawn by a clumsy and laborious...
They cut out a little
hand.
bit there.
The surface seems to have been drawn by a clumsy and laborious hand. Where is he? Where is he? Promised life, eternal life, glory, riches. Where is he? Ooh, another opulent chest over there.
I'm getting a lot of gold out of it.
Mm-hmm. Treasure.
Grant, are you sure you're not part kobold?
Pretty sure. Oh my goodness, I wonder what this stone wall will reveal.
A ladder.
A gruesome sight. A necromantic ritual, perhaps?
Alrighty.
Jar of mystic carrion brain.
This jar feels like death itself. A sure sign of necromancy at work.
The upper part of this tablet describes the necromantic ritual spell employed to adhere portions of a creature's spirit within its extracted organs, and then sealing those spirit-infused organs inside funerary urns and hiding them to preserve the life force contained therein. The bottom of the stone is crossed by a scratching of crooked letters that decipher as follows. A brilliant idea, but not an idea of genius such as the concept it inspires in me. Where better to hide such precious treasure than inside the animated body of a guardian who doesn't even know it's there?
A jar that grants immortality, hidden inside a zombie. It's almost poetic.
Okay, yep, give me a minute. Psychic resistance, dark vision, viciousness, jar of Mystic Carrion's liver, a canoptic jar containing Mystic Carrion's curdled liver. An acrid smell emanates from the seam between the jar and the lid.
Yeah, so I've got Mystic Carrion's brain. Welcome back, Jason.
Alright, welcome back. Sorry you missed your cookie. Is there anything in the dead elf? Not really. Nothing there. Is it in one of the... Have we already checked all the zombies?
I've got the brain. I don't know if we've checked in the zombies for the rest of the stuff.
Alright, I'm just gonna... Because it looks like 2 of the zombies have been opened up already. Oop. Gonna check and see who might be...
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Beggar. Vagrant.
Okay. What did you get here? How did you get here? Who killed you?
Killing... Hey! Blue! Why you gotta kill me like this?
Who is Carrion? Okay. Where lies... What lies did Carrion tell? What did Carrion do to you? Where are you from? How did you get here?
Oh, hey.
What do we want to do?
Voicelent Pinion Baraki.
The penitent looks at you silently. The penitent doesn't respond. Holding your gaze, the penitent doesn't respond. Holding your gaze almost...
Well, the good news is that once you get out of the... Once you go up the ladder, we end up back up here, and we no longer have the rot. Isn't that good news?
Why didn't he kill you straight away?
How many questions do you get? Do you think if we put the jars together, they would do a thing, or...?
No idea.
Alright, let's have a look. Throne? Yes, Blue, my throne. Have a look at my throne. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. There's a set of fitness gear. There's a pair of scales that I want, because I don't have a pair of scales anymore after I've had a pair for like 10 years. It would be really great to know how fat I am again.
Alright, let's get the hell out of here. Let's go back out to the passage out here. I didn't see any other,
thing. The jar does a thing when it's just sitting on the table. What happens if you put the brain down?
Hmm.
So yeah, put the brain on the table. Anything?
Nothing.
Alright.
Maybe we need the rest of it?
Where would the rest of it be? Like... Alright, note to self. If we find any more of Carrion's jars, we... Bless you.
Sorry. Shouldn't we go back out to the passageway, out this way?
No, the ladder takes you out the same way. The only reason there are thigh highs on there, Blue, is because Unnamed demanded they go on there, and the shipping is a bit much, I will be real with you, so... But Unnamed was like, oh, they're so comfortable, you should have them, and I'm like...
I may or may not have also been partly responsible for that.
Yeah, that too, so... Several people have been throwing me thigh highs into my suggestions, and out of the dozens that have been suggested to me, I've put one
That took the edge off.
And this way.
Which way? Oh, that way. Okay. I put one on there, okay? It's not a problem. Painted key and a scroll to conjure what's-my-whoosies.
Conjure elemental.
Yep.
That water looks tainted. Better to avoid it.
Alright, so avoid the tainted water.
Just as I was getting bored, our lord...
Feel boredom.
Ew. A lot of crows.
Like I said, it's a whole murder.
You think you should put more? I will only put more if there's ever someone, like, buying into my throne. Spoiler alert, I'm not a sexy lady who's able to, like, put on the thigh highs and do an OnlyFans and be like, thanks to the contributions of Code the Yoshi and Queen Kaiju Pixel, I have such lovely thigh. Like, I can't do that. I can't do a sexy, sultry voice with, like, the things I get gifted at Throne. A lot of the contributions of Throne don't happen for me. Like, sure, Code has gifted me a water bottle and has contributed to the ring fitness, but that's it so far. I have not had... I have not had a lot of success with, Ow, what the fuck? How did I get... There we go. Fuck you, bird.
Stand up, come on, get down with the fitness. Come on, get up, get down with the fitness.
Alright, goddamn. Ladder is broken.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of blew it up.
Would have been great if I could... But I was just saying you'd look good in thigh highs, didn't need the rant. Look, I am a ranty person, okay? I will do... Like, this was all to, like, give the illusion of, like, oh, what it would look like if I was a sexy lady, and then, like, having a bit. I'm sorry if that's, like...
Grant rants. It's part of his personality.
It's how I deal with just anxious moment of like I love the idea of getting gifts, but I have to deal with the reality that gift giving to me is not like an easy thing because people don't feel compelled to give me gifts. So what the hell? Why is there an explosion of fire?
Whatever you did there. Oh, something maybe hitting the,
Like, is it because
I don't know.
I don't know.
The water, maybe?
Start mugging. It's like gift giving. Yeah, I like giving gifts. I do like the feeling, though. Like, I don't get to do it often, but when I got paid a bonus from work, I put half into savings, and the other half, I just started gifting people shit. So, that's how Sashera got her, like, controller. I think yeah, and that's how Blue was able to get some new gear, because Blue was...
And I got a camera mount.
Yeah.
Which I still get to set up. Thank you, by the way, for that. It came through
Yay! Nice. So yeah.
I was a little bit worried because it's been on there for a long time, so...
You were worried that
it
was just gonna be a sore point where it's just sort of like, oh, like, you don't know whether or not, like, is it something you want? And you're just gonna
no. If the item was still available.
Ah, okay.
That was my worry. That it was if the item is still available.
Mm-hmm. No. Sure, Crow. Seriously, Jaheira, you could have helped.
He did help.
So, but yeah. But yeah, check out my throne. Blue keeps like going like exclamation point throne, but Blue ain't gonna. Blue is just, you know, helping hype up the throne.
And then when you're done, check out mine as well over on mine.
Yeah, it's exclamation point I cannot type.
Exclamation point throne on my end.
Yep, like this. I'm over in Code the Yoshi's chat as well. If you don't know who Code the Yoshi is, what are you doing on this side and not also on Code the Yoshi's side?
They're just mean. They don't
and
understand.
I did the wrong shout out. Hang on. Oh, that's why you're not in my chat. That's why when I did the @thingy-madiggy, it went to empty. There we go.
That's a bit strange. It should be in your chat.
Maybe it's because you haven't sent a message. Like it doesn't do an auto. It doesn't do a username
Maybe.
autofill for me. There we go. All right, what's the spiritual weapon? What's it going to do?
Really, I can't hit the bird?
Hello.
Hello.
Crank water
Oh, there we go.
national tiles.
Hello. It is me, Alan Rickman, reminding Alan Rickman to get the pork chops out of the freezer. Do not disappoint us.
Wounds, too much to bear.
Oh no, he did. Found you. Thought he was some slick shit, didn't he?
All right, stab. There we go. Stabbing worked.
Circling.
Where's me? Oh, there's me. Cool. Oh, when did I die? That's ridiculous.
Just then.
Noted. That's annoying. I missed out on my I could have killed that person.
I put a radiant orb on him.
You don't have any more spell slots.
Bitch.
Is that your rebuke, bitch?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Nice. Alrighty.
Light on my feet.
Oh, I missed.
There we go. Unarmed. Oh, hey, another +1 crossbow. I will send that to Asterion.
Time to get going.
Maybe that stuff will be useful for Asterion.
Maybe.
Okay, so we need to... I'm gonna take the wild guess that we need to put these things to... Sluice.
To the green?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a temperature meter.
Okay, so
you probably want to open the sluice gate so you can get into the Cistrian and muck it out. To do that, you will need to manipulate the valves to get the water level and heat level to the optimal levels. Do not get scalded.
Alright. So I've increased the water level.
How high?
Up.
Alright, I'm just gonna quick save here just in case.
Yeah, I need a release because I think I went too high.
No use.
That does not sound encouraging.
Got it.
Okay, that's there. That's there. We can leave that alone. Alright, let me know when you're ready and I'll open the sluice valve.
I'm trying to get the... because this one doesn't want to... low, high water level.
Wait, stop. Water level rising. Give it a second.
Oh, it just went back down to 0.
Alright, give it an... oh, so did the other one.
So...
1, 2...
Okay, it's on perfect water level. Oh.
Oh, there we go. We got it.
That opened it. There we go. Thanks for the help.
Oakfather is the road.
Nice.
These things have stayed interesting.
Have you got Chahira with you?
Yeah, I got Chahira with me. She's in the group. She's in the group. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're doing the business as we now go into the pipe.
I would be terrified going through here.
I've gone through a sewer pipe before. Back in a place called North Lakes. Oh hey, it's Minsk!
All the coin seems to be there.
Oh,
if
it's
I
also these people.
You lot are enthusiastic about your lord's work.
Oh yeah, it's their symbol was on the thingamadiggy.
We Zentarim are so long past our own godly roots. I'm afraid I forget the half of them.
Yeah,
But
they're responsible for sending in the leeches.
When did you
into
start
Baldur's
worshipping
Gate.
gods? Did they give your wee rodent a worm friend too?
Rodent?
Why'd you make me bald?
You will show the Stone Lord proper respect. And you will return to the guild hall and do as we have paid you to.
Of course. I only thought...
Wait. Flop all you wish, little fish. But Minsk has caught you.
On that note, good luck. The job will be done by the time you get to the guild hall.
Do not kill him! Find another way! Please!
Okay, remember to knock him out. Don't...
Passives. Ranged will do knockouts, by the by.
Still breathing, despite everything.
Alright, looks like my passives are on for that too, so that's good.
Breathe deep and move.
Onward.
I thought you were gonna go after Minsk.
Oh no, I was dealing with the other people first because I was an idiot. Also, let's see if we can make him fall over. Oh, he's got 100 points, so we got a lot of wiggle room for failure. Oh, okay, so there's someone up there. Ah. Jahira.
Maybe if we get rid of the other Jahira as well.
Maybe. Oh, my concentration is broken for haste, which means I am lethargic.
Lethargic.
Goddamn lethargic. They're trying to throw a knife and you're in the pipe. And it just keeps hitting the roof of the pipe.
Evil, much uglier twin sister. Minsk does not like this.
God damn it.
Yeah, let's get rid of the ugly one. You know what? You know what? You know what? Fuck you, Hellish Rebuke 2.
Bitch.
Bitch!
They throw, anytime insults are flung, just turn around, point, and just go, bitch! It's great. It's a term of endearment. We have a lot of room for error with Minsk, so it's not hit.
Sorry, we were going after Minsk?
We could do either or. It just had to be a case of when we get down to like the final 20 or so, we would then have to make it a what's Mahuzi.
Talk dirty to me. Okay.
Nice.
So anyone that runs within the Guardians,
be aware that thing does not know you know, non-lethal damage.
Yeah.
Good to know.
He's only there for about 10 turns or so.
There.
Snickers.
Have a Snickers.
He's not you when you're hungry. The Snickers really satisfies. Well, he's dead!
Just like, nope. Just hits him with the...
Also, hi, girl, how you doing?
Just hits him with the maximum nopeness.
Yeah, he just walked into the nope square.
Also, I need you...
Nope.
I can't get out.
No, don't touch me there. This is my no square.
Oh yeah, because I'm lethargic, I have like no movement.
Oh yeah, we need to take her out too, by the way.
Doing the bardic inspirations.
Well, I don't want her to run any further towards that ladder.
Open games are my favorite to play. RPGs, I think, are actually one of my favorite to play, is the thing. I think those are honestly my favorite, because I feel like I've gone through Titan Quest, I've gone through all of Kingdom Hearts, I'm going through Yakuza.
Yeah, I definitely feel like RPGs are my favorites too.
Yeah.
Especially those that give you customized characters.
Ah, nice. Ow. That looked painful.
Damn it, I was hoping to be able to do something there, but no.
Can't do something?
Damn it, I should have drunk that potion beforehand.
Ah, thank you for the mass heal words. Seriously, did the Guardian of Faith not get anything? Wow.
No.
Rude.
This target cannot be reanimated. God damn it.
Were you hoping to reanimate Snicker?
I was hoping to reanimate the hyena as a helper.
Pretty mediocre. Alright, upcast. 1, 2.
We really need to stop Row Moonglow.
Give me a few. Okay, I'm having a bit of a...
Because if she gets that ladder, she's gone, and whatever she's working on... She's also got the gold.
Yep, give me a mo.
I wonder if this is worth the cost.
Oh, you...
Here,
Hang on, I might...
Potion of Speed.
Did you just...
I've given it to you, so if you can Potion of Speed and then Misty Step over here and knock her out.
Okay, so I've got one action. Can I get to... Attacks, kind of... Okay, jump is... Are you kid? Oh my god, wait, hang on.
Do you have a Misty Step? Hang on, let me give you a... I might have a scroll of Misty Step.
I only have an action, I have no bonus action.
Damn it.
That's the problem.
But once you use an action, you should get a bonus action.
No, because this, I think this is like trying to do, like, because the fact I was slowed. Okay, give me a second, There must be... or we become blinded. Nope, that's not it. Arson, basic poison.
I mean, if she ends up getting away, she ends up getting away. It's not a big issue, but...
If just there was only a way to, like, swap, like, where she was and where I was, that would be an interesting way of doing things. Oh. Are you... Oh my god. 70%? And she's out.
Yes!
Now, unfortunately, I have no other moves to play, and there's a concentration.
No better moment.
Jahira doesn't have any ranged weapons to do a thing.
Yeah, but if I can get up to her... I still have level 2 versions of my Misty Step.
Okay.
I've just got to survive long enough to get up to her.
Where do I go from here?
Yep, so she doesn't lose another turn. I save on the concentration. Oh, save.
A doppelganger.
And I break my concentration.
Yeah, but she still doesn't move. She's lost her turn.
Yep, that is true. And I'm not dead, so there is that too.
Oh, you cunt.
The good news is there was an autosave while we were in the tunnel, so...
Also have to be fucking stunned, wouldn't it?
There's scroll of fly. Oh, that requires a concentration as well. Coin, an amulet, strength. Yeah, we're kind of stuck at this. Yep. My god, Voot is nearly dead. does Sacred Flame... Was Sacred Flame using Wisdom then, or was it also, Intelligence cast? It should mention the roll.
Doesn't say.
Okay. Alright, let's start this move. Wait, is this a... Oh, goddammit, this is an action. Okay,
That works. Don't kill her, just knock her out. Can you attack?
No, because it took an action. Ah, you motherfucker.
Never a dull moment.
Well, if she goes to move beyond her, it's going to be an attack anyway, so... Damn it, if I had no dimensional door would have done that, I would have gotten up there with that.
No!
Oh, look, a letter from Orin. Orin's dead. Alright, Mince, go to sleep. Alright, she's knocked out. Chihiro was lucky enough to be like 9.
E9, bitch.
Oh, we have to deal with that lady up there as well, and I don't see a...
Don't worry, I can deal with them up there.
Nice, 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 nice.
Hi, bitch!
Push him.
I do not have a spare movement for that one.
Ow. Would have been good.
But I'm up here, so, you know.
Nice, nice, nice. Wait, did he lose his stun state? Did they lose their stun? Oh, they must have lost their stun. Darn. That was supposed to have him, like, miss a turn.
I'll get you here down there, because you're going to need her down there.
Bring me into battle.
Can't even catch my breath.
Good job.
Nice. Alright, he's got Unstoppable on him, so... Wait, what? Yeah, no, my passive is active, for whatever reason the undead,
Yeah, they die as soon as they get hit.
This is not great. Well, we just need to keep Vince the last one alive then. And maybe we'll get something different. Hey, you saved on the stunning strike. You don't have to worry about that. It's also nice that people have noticed this and are making a few more of them now, especially ones with highly customizable. I think the thing with RPGs is that we're trying to move away from the generic, like, Bethesda format, I want to say. And the only thing we have to deal with now is everyone's just wanting to create open world crafting genre, which is like, I'm gonna be I'm surprised we've not yet had the equivalency of Divergence, like ruining the battle royale genre for young writers, or for young readers in the gaming industry, for like, oh, we have ruined the open world survival crafter because, you know, someone's made like the perfect one, but is like so generic it is a waste for anyone else to do. Like, we haven't done that yet, and I'm really confused how. You gonna push him? Nice. Oh, they're knockout. Okay, so the knockout works for some, but not all. Now, I do not believe the spiritual weapon does the knocking out bit.
That's why I'm not going to use the spiritual weapon on him.
Okay, sounds good. Dink. Oh my god, I nearly killed him. Shit.
Yeah, maybe deal with the other dudes around the area first.
I think
God damn it.
this one is slowing me down.
Don't worry, I can have shot help. Ah! Hey, how you doing? I have Elvish Laddie here. They have raided in. How are you?
Hello, Elvish Laddie.
How you doing? Let me give you.
The non-lethal
thank you for the
damage, by
shout-out,
the by,
Jason.
will only work if it's a melee, so your magic won't help.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna use my magic on him.
Mainly thinking of Puppy's playtimes and its clones. Yeah, jump scares are definitely, for instance, like getting pulled away, because it's like, oh, Five Nights at Freddy's is less about the jump scare and more about the lore.
OG RE1. God, I haven't played that since the original PlayStation.
Oh, Jesus. That's an old one.
It's a good one, too.
Noted. Noted. Alright, so we've got...
Best be on my way.
They actually re-brought out the original RE1 on,
No time for mercy.
on the DS at 1.2.
Oh, god damn it.
Sorry, couldn't do anything.
Nah, it's okay, it's okay. It just means me and Jahir are both doing our death rolls.
Ah, fine.
Oh, never mind. Thank you. Alright, we just need to deal with this invoker right here who has fallen over and is stuck in geometry. Or,
He did.
He did.
Against the darkness swarming, his senses a single light glows. Rage, flaring brighter every moment.
Kill it.
Hi there, Valkyrie Nixia!
Get rid of him.
Our sound alerts glitched. Wanted a jump scare, but it wouldn't let me. I don't know. I heard the three gnomes.
Don't be foolish. He is too unpredictable. He will only be a hindrance to us.
What did you just
see
pick?
it?
What did you just pick?
You'll find out.
I'm just gonna roll that just in case. But
Even
yeah,
though I got
hi
a
there,
27.
Valkyrie Nixia. Welcome to the stream. I'm so sorry I've not been able to catch any of your streams.
His mind unfolds beneath yours.
Unfortunately, time zones has made it that you go off at like midnight for me.
Depths. Images flash by, battles fought, and friends fallen. His rage grows colder, burrows deeper, as a familiar face crystallizes before you.
Jahira, you killed her!
The instant's hesitation is enough. With a sensation of terrible rending, something vast and nameless falls away from his mind.
There. It is done.
What?
In the sudden silence, your minds merge once more. More memories, sensations, but passing too quickly for you to track. In the same breath, you share everything that happened to you. The Nautiloid, the Absolute, the chosen of the dead three.
You saved Minsk. While he danced like a Mind Flayer's meat puppet. Why? A level head and a kind heart. It is well that Boo kept me from crushing either. He is... Where is he?
Boo?
And he's
You know what's funny? I'm wearing the Boo shirt.
Boots worn through.
Lol. Remember, we're almost out of those kobold bits that Snicker is so fond of. Talk to Notar about...
Holy crap, he just knocked down a wall.
What? Jesus Christ, this himbo has strength. Where the fuck is he?
Follow the carnage, you'll find him.
It's been a long
Noted.
day. Better stop to rest soon.
I'll just, deal with all of this. You deal with him.
Alrighty then. Jesus. You good, Minsk? But yeah, you're absolutely right, Valkyrie.
My
Time
friend.
zones are finicky things.
From our brief
Time zones are fuckery.
stories, I know you have faced many strange beings, but none like this. Whatever happens, show no fear and stay your hand. Trust in Minsk.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry. Trust him.
Minsk finds that the less thinking he does, the easier the trusting comes.
Explains a lot.
I get... Oh.
Wait! You gaze into Minsk's soul and see his foul crimes. You smell the stench of evil upon him, pointy claws primed, ready to scratch out his eyes. I am sorry, my friend. I am at the mercy of your faultless justice. Now, if you must burrow through my blackened heart, I am ready. No? You are certain? Oh, such boundless
Why is there a
compassion.
hole in his tattoo?
You are all heart.
Oh.
And whiskers.
Like,
Probably
it's
where
not-
the lobotomy was supposed to take place.
Like, because
you are
it's
right,
not
of
meant for,
course.
like, it to be covered
There's
over his
still much
eye, because,
evil
like,
for Boo and Minsk to
you
stamp
know,
out.
this is an art that they did
we need
back in
not
Baldur's Gate 1 and
fight it
2,
alone.
where they just got a person's
I
face
have
and
a
did
new
the
face to
painting and
show
such.
you.
Like,
But it is not a villainous one for the clawing. Understand?
what is it supposed to be?
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be a miniature giant space hamster.
No. Now I'm seeing Boo.
And Boo, meet you?
He's so cute, I want to pet him.
This is your great beast? Did you hit your head by any chance?
Of course. How else was I to break through these walls? Those villains locked Boo away, lest his righteous gaze cause their tadpole to flee in terror. Now we are together again. All will be exactly as... Boo, why do you use such language? Once more, my hamster proves himself my greater half, and makes the path clear when my mind is fuzzier than his tiny bottom. He says we will join with you, and cleanse Baldur's Gate of evil. Together!
Huzzah!
Cool. It will be an honor. Let's go.
Is honored indeed, but you have not the space, hmm?
Alright, I'll meet you at camp
You
later.
and I are most adept in the doing of things, but as you wish. To camp then! For his heroics here today, Boo has earned the most vigorous of back scratchings.
Noted. Minsk
He
approves.
He is the cutest of everything.
I think you might
It's
have
a
made
hamster.
terrible,
Just
terrible mistake.
You know.
Huh? Chasing rumor halfway around the city and back. Crossing the guild. All for him. The absolute threatens thousands. The entire coast. And still you risked much to... Your reasons were your own. But whether you meant for it or not, your fight is our fight. Huh? Both of us.
Minsk
To
will
the
be an
very-
asset, I'm sure.
He's an ass. I can make no promises beyond that.
Oh yeah, she's still knocked out too. Moonglow. She's gonna be pissed at us for that, by the way.
That's fine.
Was there anything else over there in that area? It looks like there's a little cavern over there too.
Yeah, there's little caverns of things.
Oh, that's just where they held Boo.
Yep. And
Yeah,
then
I have a
there's-
shirt with Boo sitting on an eyeball going, Boo, go for the eyes.
Silly.
It's adorable and I love it, and shut up.
Uh-huh.
Did you find another one, did you?
Another wall. Yeah, right here. And nothing in it. As far as I can tell, nothing in it. Ugh,
That's a little
excuse me.
disappointing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Should we head back to camp then? Probably
Uh,
time to call it, I think, for you, wouldn't it?
yes, because I have work the next day. I unfortunately have work this week still. I don't get time off until next week when I have the long weekend off for Furdu. So yeah.
Hmm.
That'll be
But
nice.
we now have Zeminsk and Zebu.
Yes, we do. We have the two. See what I did there?
Minsk is shaving his head.
Oh, are you just in camp right now?
Yeah.
Nice.
Another ball spawn buried by our hand.
You weren't even part of that little fight. What are you talking about, Minsk? There we go. And then up this ladder. Where does it lead us?
Trap.
How you go? There's a trap.
Let us try not to trip headlong through it, yes?
Give me a sec, I just need to... There we go. I rolled a 3, but it was still enough because it had a low, what's-a-mahoozy thing to pass it. Where the hell am I? Oh, thieves' tools.
That might be worth a look.
Oh, and another, and shovels.
That's curious.
We now have more than one shovel in case we ever lose things. Alright. We are now out.
Could barely sleep for a day.
Lol, it was just a giant door that said keep out. Silly.
So Minsk is saying that I can actually use...
Boo?
No, use our parasite to reach into his mind.
Ugh. What does he want to do that for?
To understand what things he might have forgotten.
Ah, okay. Is he, like, just that much of a himbo?
Yeah.
Sort by type. Actually, I'll keep that small amount. Sort by weight to see what's heavy. Alright, pike staff, send to camp. The jar, send to camp as well. Split into one. Sending 2 of them to camp. Keep the fire arrows. Antidotes. The small healing I'm gonna send to camp. Alright, what's something I can... Probably don't need the disguise kits anymore. Rainbow can go to camp. How do I have so much weight? This makes no sense. Weird. Where can I have a lot of my weight? Actually, I'm gonna start putting sending these poison bottles to camp. They're not helping me at all. Alright, I will save the game here.
Yep, well, sorry, I'm in the middle of just chatting with him.
Oh, okay. What do we have? So, we gotta return What's-a-Mahoozy's gold. We gotta get to we gotta go back to Cazador's dungeon.
Yep.
Deal with the gnomes, which is, you know, dealing with the steel sentries or whatever they are. Yeah, the steel watch foundry. We need to go to the house, find a way to the House of Hope, attend Gortash's ordination ceremony. And then we also need to get to the House of Grief. We got a few things we still need to do. Alrighty then.
He's so cute.
Alrighty then. Oh, what's the Underduke? Was that?
Aid the Underduke. That's going back to aid Nine Fingers.
Ah, okay. Alright, well, sorry. I'll replace that save then. We've been going at this for 67 hours as a campaign.
My God, we have really been going at it.
I love it, honestly. It's fairly...
I mean, it's been good. It's been good.
Yeah.
It feels like we've been doing like a small campaign at a time each time we go through. Like normally, like a campaign would take around 2 to 3 hours to do like a small campaign thing. I feel like that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. No, I think we've been doing it fairly well. Sometimes I do wish we could pace through it quicker, but I think that's just, you know, the unfortunate thing because the two of us, we have like different kinds of work schedules and we can only really do this in the evening where we're limited by 3 hours. And I don't want to go through this game without you. You know, because like, you know, sure, I'm holding on to the save and it's not like you can go through this at the same point as I am and then we just come back together. It's unfortunately like whatever I progress through, you just have to pick up on, which isn't so great.
Yeah, we don't need that issue at the moment.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Before we head off, let's have a look and see who is on.
Well, actually, I'm going to be gaming for a little bit longer if you'd like to have your chat drop in with me.
Oh yeah, you're going to be doing Dragon's Dogma 2, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll take a quick break and we'll do some Durgy Dogma 2.
Alrighty then. Well, I'm going to raid into you then, and I am going to run to the bathroom, so... That's what my thingy-madiggy is. So, alrighty then, chat. If you're wanting to be up for a little longer, Code the Yoshi will take you on, and we'll pick up streaming again Friday night. Friday night, we'll be going through some Yakuza 2, and then Saturday morning is more MMO stuff, so that's the next time I'll be streaming. And shortly you guys will be joining Code, but otherwise I want to say thank you everyone who came along to tonight's stream. I greatly appreciate it. Code, thank you
all for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for joining in for D&D Night and helping us continue through Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
I hope you have a wonderful time with more of the streaming going off tonight, and you take care with all the viewers.
Thank you.
Bye. Let's see, did that work?
I think that worked. I think, yep, everyone's over here.
That's good. They're all over
here.
The
violence!